Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Public Do-Mania. How's everyone doing? Hope you're having a good day so far. The new chair has come in, so today we're gonna build the new chair, or at least I am. It'd be nice if you could come through the screen and help me. I'm not very good at putting together flat pack furniture. I almost always screw something up, put something on in the wrong direction, and have to undo it. We'll see if I can do it successfully today. That'll be fun. And while we're doing that, I've been on kind of a Sherlock Holmes kick today. I've been watching a variety of Sherlock Holmes stuff, including Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. But today we're going to be watching something in the public domain. Now, of course, as we know, public domain, as of this year, at least everything from 1929 and prior is in the public domain. But also, there are sometimes times where companies either go out of business or don't renew their copyright, and today we're going to be watching something that is in the public domain for that reason. This is a Sherlock Holmes series, a TV show from 1954. I watched the first couple episodes. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, actually. I'm surprised I'd never heard of this before today. It's a pretty decent series. But yeah, should be good. We'll hang out, we'll watch this. I will put the chair together and we'll chat about it and all that. Or fuck up the copyright like Night of the Living Dead. Yep, sometimes it's stuff like that. Hydrate. So, let's go ahead and get into it. YouTube is weird about this. I don't know why. I'm trying to do the YouTube streams for Public Do-Mania because this stuff is in the public domain. I should have the right to do it. In fact, YouTube knows that because this video that we're watching is on YouTube. The whole series is on YouTube. However, weirdly, sometimes when you stream public domain stuff from YouTube, they cautiously will block it anyway. Very weird stuff. So, if YouTube checks out for some stupid reason, just be aware the Twitch stream is still going to be going, twitch.tv/HannahReloaded. Sorry, Altered Undying. Altered Undying with 40 bits says, "Hey Hannah, hope you're well. I sent you a YouTube video of my favorite version of Gawain and the Green Knight. You might be able to show it for Public Domain Day, but I'm not sure. I'll look into it. Today we're only doing Sherlock Holmes, but I will look into it for a future Public Domania. Thank you. I always appreciate suggestions for stuff. If you want to suggest more, the Discord has channels also specifically where you can post stuff for either Public Domania, VHS Vault, Sovereign Citizens, Conspiracy, stream stuff. So yeah, those are a good place to put stuff too. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it. I'll start working on the chair the best I can. And we'll start watching this. Cool beans. Anyone cares for me to walk them through this particular chair instructional, but in case you have this same chair, first we gotta snap on the legs. That clicks in very satisfyingly.
The city you consider as home is never so attractive as when you return to it after long and difficult times in other parts of the world. My name is Dr. John Watson. I had served and been wounded in the more remote regions of Afghanistan and had been discharged from the army with specific instructions to rest.
This, by the way, is why we keep having to go to war in Afghanistan, is so Sherlock Holmes can continue to make sense with Watson being a veteran of an Afghan war. Putting it out there, it's not my rules, rules of the universe.
The light of London again was already working its soothing tonic. As I rode through the familiar streets, I never suspected that a chance introduction would lead me into the most amazing adventure of my entire life.
By the way, this first bit is some of my favorite Holmes stuff, and this might sound weird, but the thing I've probably listened to the most out of any Holmes stuff or read the most is the initial part of Study in Scarlet, where it's just the introductory period where Watson describes getting to know Holmes. I've read the other stories, I've listened to the other stories on audiobook, but something about that initial writing where he's just describing the peculiarities of Sherlock as he's first meeting him are so interesting, and I love that stuff. Anyway, a lot of that's adapted here. It isn't a Study in Scarlet, though. This is a mystery called the Cunningham Heritage, but they still put on all of this introductory stuff from Study in Scarlet, so you still get that, you know, meeting him, hearing about him beating the corpse with the whip, stuff like that.
Watson,
Holmes is a flat earther. Holmes doesn't care, and it wasn't actually about the shape of the Earth, it was about the Copernican model of the solar system. So his actual thing was that he doesn't care if the sun goes around the Earth or the Earth goes around the sun. He has a brain attic, I think he calls it, in which he stores all of information, and he doesn't want to waste space with stuff like cosmology. That doesn't help him solve crimes as far as he's concerned.
Hello, how have you been? It's good to see you.
Not as well as you, obviously.
You look great, old man.
Heard you were wounded.
Well, it could have been much worse.
Sit down. Care for a drink?
That one.
Good.
Yes.
Well, what are your
You like
plans
Great
now?
Mouse Detective? Yeah.
You're nothing really at the moment. I'm looking for...
I find I like Great Mouse Detective, to be clear. I do find it a little weird, though. Like, I get that Basil isn't Sherlock Holmes, but he's like the mouse that lives in the walls of Sherlock Holmes's house at 221B Baker Street. I understand. But then also, he has his own Watson and his own Moriarty. So no, he is Sherlock Holmes, but like he's not. I kind of just wish he was Sherlock Holmes but a mouse. I don't understand why they have the parallel thing going on. Did the Holmes estate at the time, because I don't know if it was in public domain then. I don't think he was entirely. Did the Holmes estate just not want him depicted as a mouse? And they were like, no, he's got to be kind of like Sherlock, but not Sherlock. I don't understand. Why is he Basil?
lodgings.
Is that like the memory palace? Yeah, in Sherlock, the BBC series, they called his brain attic the mind palace because it sounds cooler than brain attic. Unstable Deadbeat, thanks for gifting a sub to Carpcosian.
Trying to solve the old problem of comfortable quarters at a reasonable price.
That's odd. The second man today that's used that expression.
Really? Who's the other?
Well, you wouldn't know him. He's doing some work in the chemical laboratory at the hospital. Might be interesting.
Yes, well, I wouldn't mind sharing a flat with somebody if he was all right.
Well,
Anything wrong?
Oh, no. He's rather strange.
Well, what's wrong with him?
Oh, nothing wrong with Holmes. That's his name, Sherlock Holmes. Well, when I saw him this morning, he was doing some research with a corpse.
Oh, what was he doing?
He was beating it with a stick.
I beg your pardon.
Did you ring, sir? 2 shillings, please. Very good, sir.
What did you say this Sherlock Holmes fellow was doing?
He was beating a corpse with a stick.
As you do.
Oh? What in heaven's name do you want to do that for?
He wanted to find out if it was possible to inflict a bruise on a body after death.
Why?
You know?
Did you ask him?
That's another strange thing about
Holmes
this.
was always on drugs only when bored. Yeah, the one that was always on drugs was Gregory House. It was based on Holmes. Speaking of House, there's a... Hold on. There's a new show out on CBS that's basically just House again, but it's Watson? Look at this. It's, like, to be fair, I understand. House is already derivative. House is already Sherlock Holmes, but a medical practitioner. I understand. But this is just that again, but it's Watson? Look at this.
the story of our lives. Who we are, where we came from, is written inside of us before we're ever born. But everything has its breaking point.
Tell me what's wrong so I can help you.
Everyone who comes into this clinic is a mystery. Solve a mystery, save a life.
There's nothing to explain why he's getting worse.
You four are the smartest doctors I could find, but our patients don't need doctors.
Somebody help!
Our patients need detectives. I promise you, we'll figure out what's wrong with you.
Where are you going?
To the scene of the crime. Everyone's faces and bodies.
It's House, except it's Dr. Watson. Like, literally, he knew Sherlock Holmes, but Reichenbach Falls has happened at this point. So he thinks Sherlock Holmes is dead, so he went to Philadelphia to start a medical practice that he calls, what does he call it? The Holmes Clinic? I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I really like really bad network TV crap. The Holmes Clinic. Do you get it?
Close. Pay attention and tell you exactly where you need to go.
We don't know what we're looking for.
Something that shouldn't be there.
Am I familiar with Watson's sketchbook? It's an amazing queer interpretation of the Holmes stories. I am not. That's cool, though. You know, out of all of the things that get, like, queer shipped, honestly, I think Sherlock Holmes is one of the things that's closest to it just being text. Like, I'm not saying that was the intent. I don't think it was. But man, when you listen to Watson, who's really the heart of those stories, because it's written from his perspective, you know? At least early on, Sherlock is a pretty clinical guy that eschews, you know, human emotion. So the humanity in those stories really comes from the narration of Watson. And the way he describes his admiration for Holmes at times, I know, they're just friends, at least by intent. But it really comes off like he just loves him. I don't know. I think it's cute.
Eliminate the impossible. Whatever remains, however impossible.
Like, literally, one of the first times that, right after he does, goes to the crime scene in, Study in Scarlet, when Sherlock explains to Watson how he figured out so much of the, deductions that he had made, and Watson just genuinely compliments him, and he describes Holmes's face lighting up like a schoolgirl being told she's beautiful. Like, it's just like, come on, man.
Must be the truth.
Must be the truth.
It's quite a different life you led.
I was trying to help him. Sherlock didn't have to die.
He may be reckless,
This is not an approved procedure. No one's ever tried it before.
but he's also a genius.
Why would you do this?
Because no one else will.
You can see into people's bodies and their souls.
That's so stupid. I love it.
Who are you?
Watson, premiere event CBS Sunday, January 26th after the
First episode of that's free on YouTube if you want. I'm probably gonna watch it, because I love crap.
Holmes. Somehow, one never thinks to question him.
It'll be cool when Sherlock shows up. Here's my prediction. Here's my shitty little prediction. If I was a hack writer writing the Watson show, at the end of season 1, you have Sherlock show up, but he's contracted a disease that he can't figure out what it is and no doctor can. So he had to reveal himself to Watson that he's still alive and he's just hiding out from Moriarty, who's also still alive while he tries to unravel his crime empire. That's what I would do if I was a hack writer. Just saying. And every medical mystery will, like, have a flashback to an actual Holmes mystery that somehow, like, they figure out the medical case based on the Holmes case. Like, oh no, our patient is glowing, what happened? And then it'll flash back to Hound of the Baskervilles. And Watson will be like, he's accidentally ingested phosphorescent paint. I remember this from the famous book Hound of the Baskervilles that I wrote. Hey, Just a Peach, how's the chair doing? It's going pretty good. Giblets for Cats, thanks for following. what I would do if I was a hack writer is make it so Sherlock and Moriarty were the same person. Ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, because, you know, in this series, the titular Watson is, like, the protagonist, so you could do that, and it could turn out that, like, yeah, Holmes Moriarty had ingratiated himself into working with Scotland Yard as this consulting detective, all as a pretense to obfuscate his own part in masterminding schemes. Yeah! Hire us, CBS! You're telling us people won't watch this crap? Come on! Just saying. Kind of like a 7% Solution-esque reimagining. If you haven't seen the 7% Solution, that's a pretty good Sherlock Holmes movie that subverts some of the Sherlock Holmes canon and Moriarty, and he also teams up with Sigmund Freud. Pretty fun. Check that one out. Have I watched Without a Clue with Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley? I've not seen that one, no. Terradona says, Holmes in Coma, Season 2. Holmes gets better and solves the season's arc case. Yes! Is the 7% solution a reference to cocaine? Yes, it is a reference, because in the book they say that Sherlock takes a 7% solution of cocaine intravenously. So it's like a kind of a play on words, in that you might have the naming conventions of a Holmes story be like, the something solution, the something problem. So in this case, it's the 7% solution, both as a play on the cocaine, and it sounds like a Holmesian title anyway. Pretty good. Pretty good. And the scene where he comes down and gets clean has a lot of cool references to Sherlock Holmes stories. The Speckled Band, the Red-Headed League, etc. You know, famous ones. I like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock movies. I think they're pretty fun. I remember liking the first one and being kind of on the second one. I think the first one's a pretty fun, original, like, Holmesian type mystery. And I don't mind them doing kind of an action-y Sherlock. That's fine. That's a valid interpretation. There's so many that are not that. I'm fine with them doing one that's a little more, like, rough and tumble. That's cool. I wish they'd do a third one, honestly. They could do that. Thought they were alright. There is a third one coming? See, they've been saying that for like a decade, though. That's been in developmental hell forever.
You realize you've just entered the greatest chapter.
Any thoughts on A Study in Emerald? Neat little crossover setup? I'm not familiar with that. There was an animated series, Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century. I was actually watching that earlier. That's one of the things I was watching earlier. I love that show. I have it on DVD. Surprise.
The history of forensic medicine. You're Dr. Watson.
Yes,
That one's funny. Do you know how Sherlock Holmes is preserved in that one to make it to the 22nd century? He's encased in honey. He gets encased in honey for like 300 years and woken up to fight a clone of Moriarty. Anyway, that's a pretty stupid fun show.
I am. What works?
Foolproof test for hemoglobin. You realize what this means, of course.
No, I don't. You must be Sherlock Holmes.
It will create a revolution in criminal investigation. Yes, I'm Holmes.
How did you know I was Watson?
Because you've just come back from Afghanistan. How do you do?
How you do? How did you know I'd just come back from Afghanistan?
Well, it's written all over you. The problem has generally been that a man is suspected of a crime months after the crime is committed. Then when they find bloodstains on objects of clothing, they can't be sure if it's blood, mud, or rust stain.
Trey says, one of my favorite reimagining was a version that was told from Moriarty's perspective, and it outright says that Sherlock is a propaganda tool of the state so that anyone that Sherlock accuses the public just accepts that they must be guilty. Ooh, that's pretty interesting. I don't mind that. Ooh, it's a gaming thing. I don't know about that.
But this solves the whole
I'll
thing.
check it out sometime. But I know he's been, stuff's been happening with him, I think, lately.
Of course.
Oh, of course. Of course. Stanford told me you're looking for someone to share a flat you'd found.
You know, if this test had been in existence a year ago, it would have meant that von Bishop of Frankfurt would most certainly have been hung. And that goes for Mason of Bradford, Muller and O'Fay, naturally.
Naturally. Who are these people?
Did you know, I'm delighted to meet you, Watson. I think you'll like the flat. It's in Baker Street, by the way. Oh, we could pop round this afternoon and have a look at it if you care.
Yes, oh yes, rather, I'd like that.
Good. Did you mind if I play the violin?
No, go right ahead.
No, I don't mean now. I mean when we're sharing the flat.
Oh, no, of course not. I like a bit of good music.
Oh, good. I'm fair enough.
I was surprised when I watched the first episode or so of this how funny it is. Like, there's a lot of adaptations that Sherlock that highlight some of the banter and fun little stuff. But I thought this one had a particularly, like, nice little comedic timing. It feels naturalistic. It doesn't feel like it's mugging to the camera. But it has a little bit of a comedic timing. It's nice.
Very good.
Oh. Tell me, Holmes,
Yes.
how did you know I just got back from Afghanistan?
Well, it's obvious.
Now, that's what you said before. It isn't a bit obvious.
You're a doctor, that much we know. But with the air of a military man, therefore an army doctor. You've acquired a sunburn. I know it's not your natural color because your wrists are white.
I want to point out, too, I always find it interesting in adaptation how they change things. In the original Holmes story, it took quite a while for Holmes to actually explain to Watson how he knew this stuff. They had already been living together for some time, and Watson was reading an article in a magazine that happened to be written by Holmes, unbeknownst to him, in which he described the science of deduction, the name of the chapter in which this story actually takes place. And Watson basically calls it bullshit. And then Holmes explains how he knew all these things about him when he met him.
Your eyes tell me
The
that
intro's meant to be funny in the book, so it does make sense. Yeah, and I would say it is. I think that the Holmes stories sometimes are underrated how funny they can be. Like, genuinely, it's like a dry wit, but, like, it's pretty good. You can tell how weird Sherlock is, and how everyone just has to kind of deal with his bullshit, because they need him, but Watson kind of understands him better. Good.
recently been ill. I'd say some sort of
What
tropical
color's the new chair? It's blue.
fever. You use your left arm stiffly as though you've sustained a wound. Now the problem becomes, where would an army doctor have contracted a fever, sustained a wound? And the answer, my dear Watson, is in the present campaign in Afghanistan, naturally.
Naturally.
Many adaptations don't know what to do with Watson. This one in the series with Jeremy Brett got the characters right. I really hate the ones that make Watson out to be a buffoon. A lot of the times, if they don't know what to do with Watson, they make him an outright foil to Holmes to the point that he's kind of bumbling. And it's terrible. To me, that reads as someone who doesn't know how to, like, write a character smart without putting someone really dumb next to them. You know what I mean? Like, oh, how do we make Sherlock sound smart? We'll make Watson an idiot to always tell him he's wrong. Like, that happens in the book sometimes. Watson will make a attempt at a deduction, but it doesn't quite go all the way, and then Holmes will step in and fill in more. But he's not treated like an idiot. He's treated like he's smart and, you know, a partner to Holmes and his mysteries. He's just not as good as him.
Of course, it's obvious. Naturally.
You know, the worst thing about The Doctor's Wife is that he wrote it, but it's otherwise pretty good. It's like that. Well, I heard he didn't write The Doctor's Wife, so I wasn't supposed to tell people that, but at this point I don't give a shit. I heard from someone who worked on the show that he might have not really written The Doctor's Wife because he doesn't do deadlines very well, and Stephen Moffat actually had to write that episode, and then they slapped Gaiman's name on it so that things would be smooth with the BBC and their relationship wouldn't be strained. But, like, that's just a rumor I heard. That's not worth anything. Anyway.
We examined the rooms at 221B Baker Street that afternoon and promptly moved in on the following day. I had, at this point, known Sherlock Holmes for only 24 hours. But the man's fantastic powers of perception, coupled with the almost unpredictable personality I'd ever encountered, kept me in a state of constant surprise when I wasn't being shocked. It was unbelievable the things he...
Juan Croak says, it weirded me out that the author was a massive religious fanatic, but explicitly made Holmes an atheist and played it completely straight rather than one of Holmes's oddities. It is interesting. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was the author of the Sherlock Holmes mysteries, was like into the supernatural. Like, there's a pretty famous event where there was some faked fairy photography that he bought hook, line, and sinker. He was into seances and spirit readings, and like, he was actually friends with Harry Houdini, and he was shocked when Harry Houdini was like a skeptic and tried to convince him that like this kind of stuff wasn't real. Because Harry Houdini, for those who don't know, you know, he's a great magician, great escape artist, but he adamantly did not like spiritualists taking advantage of people, similar to someone like James Randi, the amazing Randi. So I don't know. It's interesting how people can write so far out of their own perspective sometimes and do so quite effectively.
He knew, and the things he didn't know.
Now, really, my dear Holmes, you mean to tell me you didn't know that the Earth moved round the sun?
Really?
But every school child knows that.
Well, now I know it, too. And I shall promptly proceed to forget it.
But why?
I gotta get part of the mechanism.
Why should I remember it?
Well, because it's a natural phenomenon.
Well, is it important? Does it affect us? If you told me the Earth went round the moon, would it make any possible difference to our way of life?
Well, put it that way, no.
Then it's useless information, and I shall do my best to forget it. I advise you to do the same.
At times, I thought the man was joking and simply having a bit of fun at my expense. But I soon learned that he was in dead earnest. I also, unknown to him, made a brief classification.
Ashley One Up says, I think the worst Watson I've seen was Nigel Bruce in the 1939 movies. Every other line was him just doubting things to make Holmes look smart. A woman killing Holmes? Surely not. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And, like, Basil Rathbone's great. I fucking love Basil Rathbone as Sherlock, but I don't know. When they took that series to the present day, it really fell off, especially the movies that were basically war propaganda. I don't know. I prefer Holmes stuck in the 1800s, to be honest. I really like period piece Holmes. There have been plenty of adaptations that are in different time periods that I like, but generally I prefer the classic Holmes, or something really out there like Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, right? I don't generally like contemporary Holmes as a concept. I don't get the point, I guess.
Of the man's knowledge.
Like, let me put it this way. When you put Sherlock Holmes in the 21st century for, like, the BBC Sherlock show, what did we get really out of it? Sherlock intuiting that someone's drunk because their phone port is scratched instead of the part on the pocket watch where people wind it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an aesthetic update. It didn't really change much about the character or the circumstances. It was basically a coat of paint. Star Trek Holmes? Yeah, that's great. I love when Data does the Holmes thing. He actually does a pretty good Basil Rathbone Holmes impression.
Literature? Nothing.
Which movie is about Holmes time travels to the Southwest and then Moriarty shows up? We tried buying Purple, but it would not be shipped to a gift list. That's so weird. I wonder why. I appreciate it, though. I appreciate the chair very much. Which movie is that? I don't remember what movie you're talking about. I don't recall, unfortunately. Are you thinking of the movie where Jack the Ripper gets sent into the present because a piece of London Bridge, which got moved to, like, the American Southwest or something, gets put into place? Because I remember that movie.
Philosophy? Nothing. Astronomy? Nothing.
Nemesis.
Politics? Disinterested. Botany? He knew everything there was to know about poisons, and absolutely nothing about practical gardening.
See, Time After Time is Jack the Ripper and H.G. Wells. And they wind up, I believe, in San Francisco or somewhere in California, which is a good movie. I like Time After Time. Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells. Great. Fun one.
Chemistry profound. Sensational literature? Without question, Sherlock Holmes knew the details of every horror perpetrated in the last 100 years.
record, if anyone cares, my favorite Holmes stories are The Red-Headed League, The Speckled Band, and like I said, I really like that intro section of Study in Scarlet. The rest of the book is just like, okay. But that intro section is just real great.
I believe we have a visitor.
Really?
Air
Coming here.
London Bridge, aka Bridge Across Time. Just a peach. Nemesaur says Terror at London Bridge, aka Bridge Across Time? Question mark?
Sir, I would also say he's a retired sergeant of Marines.
Oh, you know the man?
I've never clapped eyes on him before in my life.
Well, in that case, that's one of the wildest statements I ever heard.
By the way, Sherlock Holmes is one of the most adapted fictional characters of all time in movie and TV shows. Number 1 is Dracula.
How can you possibly
Sherlock Holmes, I believe, is number 2.
He's a retired
In
sergeant
terms of characters.
of Marines. You've never seen him.
I guess, my dear Watson, a calculated deduction.
Yes, he is coming up here. Do you mind if I ask you his profession?
Oh, by all means. Now, where did I put my violin case?
Oh, it's over here. There you are.
Ah, my old friend.
Come in.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I have a message here from Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Sir?
Least favorite story? That's a good question. I'd have to think about it.
Mind telling me your occupation?
Not at all, sir. I'm a civil servant employed by the police department.
Thank you. I just wondered.
Not at all, sir.
How long have you been with the police department?
I think unless you're like a purist, if you're like a pretentious asshole who only likes like strict adherence to the books, I think a lot of people like the RDJ ones. I talked about it earlier. I enjoy them. There's just so many versions of Sherlock Holmes. It's kind of hard to get mad at any, even ones you don't personally like, because it's like there's 10,000 out there. They're going to make 7 more movies next year. You know, it's whatever.
Just a year, sir. Before that, I was a sergeant in the Marines. Good day, gentlemen.
How did you know?
An interesting letter, Watson. A very interesting letter. Perhaps you'd like to come with me.
Where?
To catch a murderer, of course.
Of course. How did you know that
Even
that man was
anime
an
Sherlock Holmes? I own an anime Sherlock Holmes. It's called Sherlock Hound. Hayao Miyazaki worked on it.
sergeant of Marines?
Who?
A messenger from the police.
Oh, yes, the retired sergeant of Marines.
Been
That's
fond
what
of Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother. That was directed and starred. Why am I blanking on his name? Gene Wilder, right? Gene Wilder? Yes. Funny guy.
I said.
Well, there's nothing mysterious about such observations, my dear Watson, but unfortunately when explained, they lose their romantic order of mystery. My decision was based on observation and logical deduction. The man had a large anchor tattooed on the back of his hand. This was visible from our window.
I admit I didn't notice it at the time, but since you mention it, I think there was an anchor.
Oh, there was indeed. He also wore regulation sideburns and had a slight nautical roll. Thus I judged him a Marine.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out which direction this is trying to tell me to go, because it almost looks symmetrical, but it's not. The screw holes are different. It's not really telling me which direction they go. Well. Why do they do this? We'll take a guess. The 50-50 shot, right? It's 50-50. What could go?
Well, guess, I grant you, but only a refinement of guesses one makes every day. Don't be so disgruntled, Watson. Test your own powers of observation. We are entering the perfect situation.
No? What are we entering?
A house that holds a murdered man. Inspector Lestrade inside.
Sorry, I hit the mute.
Yes, sir. May I have your name?
How far back was I muted? No, I was trying to say, I see what happened here. There's no actual W, there's only the M's, or W. But, like, it's because if you flip it upside down, so it's the same screws. They just put it both ways in case you switch it to Wumbo.
Please? Yes, Sherlock Holmes. This is Dr. Watson.
Oh, that's quite all right, sir. Inspector Lestrade gave instructions to admit you.
Oh, good. Oh, by the way, has the body been removed?
No, sir, but the medical examiner's just gone.
Oh, thank you. Let's hope they haven't moved things about too much. The police forces of the world seem to have an organized science of messing things about.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Holmes.
Now then, move along there, everybody. Move along. There's nothing to see today.
I don't know. I swear I don't know. I tried to help him. Don't you believe me?
Clearly not.
I had to do what I could. It was instinctive.
Instinctive for a woman like you to commit murder.
That's not true. You know it's not true. I know you hate me, but you can't believe I'd do a thing like this.
Yes, I can, and I do.
Please.
She's a murderess. You know it as well as I. She murdered your brother.
It's a lie.
Yes, it's a lie. Your entire story's a lie. The relationship you had with my son was a lie. My son's been murdered. This girl's a murderess. Why she did it, what her motive was, I don't know. They were engaged without my blessing. I can only be grateful that she gains nothing by her crime. Your duty now is to convict her.
Did the mom do it?
Just a moment, please. Notice the angle of incision, Watson.
Yes.
The force of the blow and the general penetration of the upper region of the chest. How long would you estimate before loss of consciousness?
Well, it's difficult to say.
30 seconds. Minutes?
Oh, between the two.
I see. And death?
Shortly thereafter.
2 minutes. 3?
3 or 4, I'd say.
Thank you, Watson. All right, take him out. Ah, forgive the interruption. I would prefer to have been invited before the body had been moved.
I thought you'd be interested, Holmes.
Oh, thank you, Lestrade. Well, may I introduce my friend, Dr. Watson, Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard?
How do you do?
How do you...
Where's Gregson?
So you're completely stuck, eh, Lestrade?
Give us Gregson,
What do you mean?
cowards.
Well, you thought I'd be interested.
Forrest
Why don't you admit
Espion.
it? You're in a jam.
Forrest Espion, thanks for 29 months, says, "Hey Hannah, I'm glad I caught you live. Here's a channel for tinfoil days." Ooh. What is that? I asked Jesus about aliens, and what he said will shock you. Near-death experience story.
It was an ordinary Saturday morning when Jason Williams, a 36-year-old systems engineer from Seattle, woke up with the usual hustle of city life.
Oh boy, that's definitely AI. Yeah, I'll put that on my list. Thank you.
Well, give us some cabinet work, don't you think?
What you say isn't exactly true, Holmes. I've done you a favor. This is an interesting case. Of course, there are 1 or 2 unexplained details, but I don't believe it'll be long before we're
What's
clear.
your principal problem?
There's no motive.
I found this girl with a knife in her hand. My brother lying dead on the floor.
I found Peter on the floor. I tried to help him
By stabbing him?
by removing the knife. Anybody would have done the same thing. I love him.
Oh, my dear young lady, there's no cause for you to alarm
Brother
yourself.
did it, maybe, for
No one's
inheritance. He wanted a
accusing you
bigger
of,
share.
Well, of what happened.
This would be a clear-cut case if only she had a reason for murdering him. There happened to be a policeman outside the house during the murder, and he said that no one came in except her.
Well, what about the others? Who benefits by her death?
Well, no one. The estate was left in such a way that if he died before he married, everything went to charity.
My dear Inspector Lestrade, he didn't die before he married. This young lady and the man whose body was carried out of here have been married for at least a week. In the event of his death, I imagine everything passes to her.
Bum, bum, bum.
And now we return to the case of the Cunningham Heritage.
How did you know they were married?
Weren't you?
Yes, a week ago.
Then you do benefit by my brother's death. You're his heir.
I don't know if I am or not. I only know I didn't
What
kill
have you
him.
missed? You missed Sherlock and Watson meeting, and they just got to this murder, and this girl is the suspect because they found her with a knife.
I swear I didn't.
Where were you married?
We went down to Brighton last weekend.
Well, why didn't Peter say anything about it?
I don't know. He asked me not to say anything, so of course I didn't.
I'm afraid, young lady, I'll have to ask you to accompany me to headquarters.
I understand.
Excuse me, Inspector. I think I should tell my mother.
Oh, yes, of course.
Tell me, Holmes, how did you know they were married?
Well, the man's hands had the remains of a sunburn and the fading marks of a narrow ring, but not as yet that indentation of the finger a ring generally leaves. A weekend in the sun at Brighton explains the whole thing perfectly.
I didn't notice these things.
Yes, I know. The young lady's hands were also sunburned, and to the same degree.
Then the case is solved.
Yes, it would appear so, wouldn't it?
Sherlock Holmes' special interest is murder investigation.
What are you looking for? How do you see that? What? Here, use this. Well, that's only the cut in the carpet. Yes, but it's a fresh one. Yes, but what does it mean? That's a good question.
You'll stop looking for clues now, Holmes.
Ah, you've solved the case then?
Completely.
Oh, splendid.
Seems this girl had a record. 9 months in the woman's prison in Holloway.
We solved it! She previously did crimes! Obviously that means she did this crime. Good job, cops. So good at this.
From the 21st of February, 1890...
I wonder why people imagine fictional characters like Sherlock Holmes who are really good at actually solving crimes. It's almost like the real thing is really lame. I know it's ironic me saying that because he's a fictional character, but like...
To the 21st of November, 1892. She was employed as a governess and convicted for stealing £300 from her employer.
It's quite true.
She stole
I
money!
didn't find
She
out
must
something.
be a murderer!
I made a mistake 5 years ago, but I paid for it. But Peter knew all about it before we were married. I never tried to hide it from him.
You didn't know what else you had in mind.
I had nothing else in mind except that I loved him.
I'm afraid I must ask you to go with the office on this. Rather, madam. Well, that's how I like my cases. Fast and simple.
Oh, you must tell me some more about it.
Well, there's nothing to tell, really. Her story was that Peter asked her to call here at 10 sharp. She arrived, found the door open for her, came in here and found him writhing on the floor with a knife on his chest. She screamed, pulled it out. Just then, Brother Ralph walked in. Peter died without saying another word. So she stabbed him for the inheritance and was caught in the act. Simple.
Well, falling off a log. Couldn't be simpler, could it, Watson?
Oh, I still think it's a tragedy.
Yes, but in my job, Dr. Watson, we run up against it all the time. Cigar?
No, thank you. Well, I suppose you've had some amazing adventures.
Yes, but one learns to have a real philosophy of life and get a good perspective.
Yes, I suppose. But just the same, I think it's a pity.
Just another case of a clever girl being too clever.
The clever girl who intended to murder her husband, he certainly chose the most stupid possible way to commit the crime.
What was that?
Well, what's this?
Checkbook.
Oh, amazing deduction of the straight. Look.
So Peter Cunningham drew a check for £1,000.
6 weeks ago. And 5 weeks ago. And 4. And 3. And 2. And that's all.
Well?
They're drawn to cash.
Well, I don't get your point. He was a very rich man.
Well, it's a great deal of cash.
It was his own money. I suppose he could do what he liked with it.
You may have hit the proverbial nail, Lestrade.
Now, look here, Holmes. You're trying to start something that just doesn't exist.
Do you think so?
I have a great deal of respect for your opinion, Holmes. But your trouble is that you can't leave things alone. If there isn't a mystery, you have to make one, or you're not happy.
You're right,
I
I'm
pinned
not
it on
happy.
someone
The remarks
already,
on the carpet
Holmes.
indicating a
Police
struggle.
work
The man
done.
whose body was carried out of here was over 6 feet in height. If he had struggled with the girl who had left here, I don't think he'd have lost.
She surprised him.
Oh, but he was expecting her.
That's her story. I'd say she sneaked up on him.
What, and stabbed him in the chest? How do you sneak up on someone and stab him in the chest, Lestrade?
Apparently he needs to watch Fatal Attraction. Fatal Attraction tells you how to sneak up on someone and stab them in the chest.
Now, look here, Holmes. You're trying to start something, and I just won't stand for it. That girl's a jailbird, and she's guilty, and she's going to hang. And that's the end of the case.
I see Inspector Lestrade is up to his usual mental gymnastics, trying to hammer square pegs into round holes.
Got him.
Well, Lord, it's been a great pleasure meeting you, Inspector. I warn you to keep away from that man, Holmes, or you'll be insane in less than a week.
I love
What
that
time
he
is
just
it?
employs vagrant children.
Oh, 10:30.
Perhaps you'd like to take a little stroll with me.
Why?
I'd like to investigate this afternoon's affair a bit further.
Oh, yes. I'd like that. I thought you'd forgotten about it.
Not at all. I've been thinking about it all evening. Shall we go? Then we must exchange our thoughts en route.
Where are we going?
To the Cunningham house.
I didn't know you'd made an appointment there.
I didn't.
Oh, well, who do you expect to see?
No one, I hope.
Well, I'm terribly sorry, Holmes, but I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean when you say you want to go to the Cunningham house and you just... You can't do that.
What?
Well, you can't break into the house.
Why not?
It's against the law, that's why not. Why, if we're caught...
That's it.
What is?
If we're caught.
But that makes no difference. It makes no difference at all. The thing is, if we're caught, it's against the law. Quickly now. But look, Holmes, we can't keep it. Come on.
Good evening, Inspector.
Good evening, Sergeant. Everything all right?
Yes, sir.
I just thought Sherlock Holmes might have dropped by.
Where'd you get the key?
Oh, the key's a burglar's too. A burglar's too?
Speak clear.
Yeah.
How do you know he's out? Because I had a spy watching the house. Go through that cabinet.
What am I looking for?
Oh, papers, bank statements, anything to indicate passage of money from Peter Cunningham's account. Go on.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Looking for something and you don't know what in order to catch somebody and you don't know who. Quite ridiculous. Nothing over my side.
Keep looking.
Who do you think's got it? Whatever it is we're looking for.
Why did Peter Cunningham try to hide the fact of his marriage? A week or a month put the main indifference as far as his mother was concerned. She would never have consented to his new bride anyway.
He married her to prove to me that my blackmail wouldn't stop him. And then he withheld the fact in order to give me 1 week to clear out of the country before he exposed me.
The money he paid you went to buying up your promissory notes.
I was being pressed, Mr. Holmes. My brother's engagement to a jailbird gave me a perfect opportunity to extract a little money from him.
Jesus,
In fact, if he hadn't been such a bullhead, it would have gone on for quite some time.
A jailbird,
all he had to do was pay me,
perfect murder suspect.
asshole.
Perfect, Mr. Holmes. And you and Dr. Watson make perfect burglary suspects.
Look at that.
When I report
Starting to
your
look
death
like a
to the
chair.
police, they
It's
can't
basically a
possibly blame me
stool
for
already.
defending the sanctity of my home.
Well done, Watson.
Oh, I could have done a bit better, only it was my bad shoulder.
Quite all right, Watson. Think no more about it.
So that's our murderer.
Yes, the only possible one, of course. Only a man could have struck that blow. Peter died, as you say, within 3 or 4 minutes.
And there was a bobby outside the whole time.
Fun fact, Holmes was pretty fucking sexist. It was written in Victorian era. What did you think was gonna happen?
Crystal clear.
No, it's completely obvious.
Well, what do we do now?
What's going on here? Who fired that shot?
We will sit with the good inspector, and with the aid of our evidence, a bit of logic, and a few simple diagrams, we will endeavor to convince him that night follows day and that 1 and 1 inevitably makes 2.
How did you two get in here anyway?
Now, Inspector, calm yourself, calm yourself. Come, sit down. Now, there's a good fellow. Sit right here. Now, you see, we have a great deal to talk about.
Why you hate 90% of the Irene Adler adaptations? Yeah, it's always like, the one woman who has brains, Irene Adler, the woman, as he refers to her. Yeah, there's something.
So present with Inspector Lestrade was Dr. John Watson and a personal friend of the inspector's, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
This is ridiculous. It's fantastic. This isn't the way it happened at all.
This will revolutionize investigation, Watson.
This whole account is a lie.
Fingerprints, Watson. That's the coming thing.
Oh, nonsense. What are you going to do about this?
A bit more research. Here, give me your fingers on this sheet of paper.
Oh, are you going to sit there with these disgusting little smudges and let them get away with this?
Beg your pardon?
Well, I won't. They're going to hear from me. Brilliant Inspector Lestrade, indeed. Why, it took you 3 hours to convince that bonehead. I don't know. Never mind his eyes. Just said he was innocent.
Oh. I wonder if he got more than a shoulder wound in Afghanistan. Oh.
All right, let's see. What one are we gonna do next? It shouldn't really matter the order. Ooh, let's do the Red-Headed League. That's one of the stories I really like. Just a lot of the Holmes stories are very murdery, which is great. I like a good murder. Red-Headed League is, I guess I don't want to spoil it, but just kind of like a weird mystery that does make you kind of go like, yeah, what is going on here? And then when it's revealed, you're like, oh, yeah. Christopher B says, going to see Captain America 4 later today. Thanks for your timing, by the way. If you haven't seen it, what's your prediction for the end credits scenes? I have no idea. I am not caught up on Marvel. I have missed, like, the last couple Marvel shows. I still haven't seen The Marvels or Quantumania. I need to catch up, so I couldn't even say.
What are you doing?
Well, I hope I didn't alarm you, old chap. I'm just taking gun prints.
This is the end. This This time you've gone too far, Holmes. You can't turn this place into a shooting gallery. Gun prints.
Have you ever seen a gun print?
I've never even heard of a gun print. You'll kill somebody one of these days, Holmes. Parliament ought to pass a law against people like you.
Well, of course, gun print's just the name I've given it. Actually, it's the marks on the bullet left by the rifling in the gun barrel.
Ah!
Yeah, would you like to look at these two bullets under the magnifying glass? You'll observe that they have different markings because they were fired by different guns.
I'm not interested, not in the least interested. The police will be here in a minute.
But you should be interested, Watson. You're interested in saving lives, aren't you?
Of course, but...
Well, look,
Granada
this little
did
very little
Red-Headed
experiment
way
may very well
better.
save a life.
Yeah, I
How
have
could-
that Granada series on Blu-ray. I think they're also putting out their Miss Marple on Blu-ray soon, the Granada series.
Firing bullets
Now,
from
listen,
here
wait
into
a minute. Take the case of a man who is accused of murder.
I'd rather not.
The prosecution claimed that the bullets were fired from his gun.
They probably were. The man was guilty. I can see it all.
Yes, but if it can be proved that it was impossible by the markings, then an innocent man's life could be saved.
That's all very well and good, Holmes, but this flat is not the place to conduct these sort of experiments. How would you like it if I started to practice my surgery in the bathtub or on the kitchen table?
Could you manage it in the bathtub, do you think?
No, I give up. And now, if you're not keeping this appalling smell for experimental purposes, I will, with your permission, open the door. Holmes, I told you. I knew you'd gone too far. Now you have shot somebody.
Well, if I have, I shall have to certainly correct those guns for drift. That's fantastic. He seems to have some breath in him still.
No fault of yours if he has. Now, help me with him before somebody sees him. Really, firing off revolvers, brewing poison, frightening people. It's more than a man can stand, Holmes. Really, more than a man can stand.
Am I wounded badly, please? I'm a poor man. I can't afford a hospital.
No. You'll be all right in a minute. You've just fainted from something.
Something, you say?
Can you imagine back in Victorian times they had to pay to go to the doctor? How primitive. Who does that? Weird.
Didn't you hear what happened? I was outside, about to knock at your door, when suddenly I was attacked. Someone turned a revolver loose on me, bullets flying everywhere. I tried to fight back bravely, but there were too many of them, 6 or 7 at least, all firing guns.
I'll get you a glass of brandy.
Oh, thank you. You'd better call the police. They may try it again, whoever they are. Maniacs and foreigners, I'll be bound.
No. You're quite safe now. Those shots came from my revolver and were fired into that wadding over there.
You mean you were the one who...
Yes, I was just carrying out a little experiment. I must apologize for any shock I may have given you.
And no one is after me?
And not to my knowledge, Mr. Wilson. Here, will you drink this, huh?
Oh, thank you. You called me Mr. Wilson just now. How did you know that was my name?
Well, it's on your collar.
Very shrewd indeed, you're noticing my name like that. In fact, you've got exactly the kind of mind that could help me to unravel my mystery. That is, if you're willing to lend a poor man a hand.
It helped if I put it in the hole
I owe
all
you
the
at
way.
least that. What is the mystery?
But perhaps you'll get a better idea of what it is if you read this first. There, it's in the wanted column. Read it for yourself.
To the Red-Headed League. On account of the bequest of the late Ezekiah Hopkins of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, USA, there is now another vacancy open which entitles a member of the League to a salary of £4 a week for purely nominal services. All red-headed men who are sound in... Apply in person on Monday at 11 o'clock to Duncan Ross at the offices of the League, 7 Pope's Court, Fleet Street. Apply in person on Monday at 11 o'clock to Duncan Ross at the offices of the League, 7 Pope's Court, Fleet Street.
But what on earth does it mean, the Red-Headed League?
It is a little off the beaten track, isn't it?
I assure you I felt the same way as you when I read it. A vacancy for what, I asked. I'm a dealer in second-hand merchandise, and I believe in giving value for value received. And it certainly struck me as odd that somebody was prepared to give £4 a week for nothing. But young Spaulding took a different view of it.
Oh? Who is young Spaulding?
Vincent Spaulding. He's my assistant, and I couldn't wish for a nicer young man.
I see. Now, suppose you tell me the story as it happened.
By the way, the solution to this is a trope that you've probably seen in a ton of mysteries since this. A lot of mystery tropes come from the Holmes mysteries. Shocking, I know.
Right from the beginning.
From the beginning? Yes, of course. Well, it all started 2 months ago when that paper came out. I was in the shop at the time. I'm there practically the whole of my time. I'm a widower and I've got little else to do. When young Spaulding came back from lunch.
Mr. Wilson, if you only knew how I wish that I had red hair like you.
Huh?
Don't believe it or not. Here is another vacancy for the League of Red-Headed Men.
A league of what?
Red-Headed Men. Surely you've heard of them, haven't you?
Oh, I'm afraid I don't get about as much as some of you young people do.
I should have thought everyone would have heard of the League of Red-Headed Men. Well, at least everyone who was eligible. Now, a man like you, if you were accepted, could make himself a nice little nest egg without hardly lifting a hand.
Vincent, I've told you
Without
before.
giving too much away, I do want to know how they came up with this plan. Like, how do we convince this guy to do this thing? I don't know, he's got red hair. What if we made, like, a redhead club and told him to be a part of it? That's the best you got? Really?
There's one thing you've got to learn in life. Nobody ever gets anything except by the sweat of his brow. Value receives value. What is this Red-Headed League?
Take a look at this paper yourself. How I wish my hair would change color, really I do. What a nice little nest egg I'd make for myself.
Well, this doesn't make sense to me.
No? Will you see the name? Ezekiah Hopkins?
Yes.
Oh, he was an American millionaire. Very peculiar in his ways. He was red-headed himself and had great sympathy for all red-headed men. So when he died, he left an enormous fortune in the hands of trustees to make life easier for all red-headed men.
Oh, really? Yeah, red-headed men.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but I couldn't apply even if I wanted to. I've got the shop here to look after.
Now, that's the whole point. The work don't amount to anything. Absolutely nothing at all. It need not interfere with a man's other occupation.
Well, even so, probably millions of men would apply for it.
No, this is limited to Londoners and to grown men. You see, this American started off from London and I suppose wanted to do the old town a good turn. And then again, I hear it's no use applying unless your hair is a real fiery red.
Huh. Do you think my hair is red enough?
I've never seen any redder.
I wonder if they actually got a redhead to play this guy, because it's black and white. It was shot for black and white, so it doesn't have to be, you know? I'm betting he's not. I bet this guy isn't even redheaded.
I could use the money. There's all sorts of repairs I could do, and... Vincent, I'm going to investigate
Maybe
this
it
league.
is. Although it could
Lock up
just
the
be a
shop.
really
You're coming
light
with me.
brunette. I don't know.
You're right. It is fiery red, isn't it?
Just let me handle everything. All right. Stand back, everybody. This is Mr. Hopkins' son. Go on, step back, or he'll see that you don't get interviewed at all. Mr. Hopkins, this way.
Thank you for applying, Mr. Emerson. Your name will be kept on file, and in the event you are chosen to fill the vacancy, I'll get in touch with you immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. I do hope I win. My family and me could do with the money.
We shall see what we shall see, Mr. Iverson.
Thank you so much.
We're getting there. It's nice sitting on this old broken chair while making the new chair. It's like the chair is the cuck.
Are you the next applicant?
Yes, this is Mr. J.B.S. Wilson. Your search is over. He's willing to fill the vacancy.
Will you sit down, Mr. Wilson?
Also, sorry my hair is getting so, like, weird during this, but when I move around a lot and there's a fan blowing, I know you don't care, but I'm self-conscious.
I've never seen anything like it.
This plan seems a bit convoluted. That's the fun. That's why I like this story, is because it's such a weird plan. Like, that's what makes it good, is how would you even figure out that this is the plan? It's so stupid. Like, in a top-down, again, without spoiling too much, they just need to get him out of the place. They just need him out of there. But the specifics of how they get him out of there are so odd. Is the 2018 Holmes and Watson as bad as everyone says? I have not seen it because I think it would hurt me too much. I can't do it. I can't do it. Broadly, I like Will Ferrell, and I really like John C. Reilly, and I cannot sit through them paining me while also poorly parodying a character I like so much. I just can't. I can't watch that much cringe.
Ah, I told you, Mr. Wilson. It's extraordinary, beyond belief. Congratulations. It would be an injustice to hesitate.
Oh, I've got the position.
You have. You will, however, excuse me for taking an obvious precaution. There are tears in your eyes. I perceive all is as it should be, but we have to be careful, for twice now we have been deceived by wigs, and once by paint.
Faking the rip.
I'm sorry the vacancy has been filled, but thank you one and all for coming. My name is Duncan Ross. I'm one of the trustees in charge of the fund left by your noble benefactor. When shall you be able to embark upon your new duties?
Oh, well, almost any time, I suppose. Though I should mention that I have another business which will require some of my time.
Hooray.
Oh, so long as you're free to be here between the hours of 10 to 2, there'll be no objections.
Easy enough, Mr. Wilson. There's very little business during those hours, and what there is, I could take care of.
Oh, thank you, Vincent. I appreciate that. And what is the work?
Copying the encyclopedia. The Encyclopedia Britannica. You will provide your own pen, ink, and blotting paper, and copy it down word for word. Is that agreeable?
I'd be pissed off when I found out what the plan really was. I'd legitimately be like, I know you needed me out of the way, but why did you make me mind-numbingly copy things out of the fucking encyclopedia or dictionary or whatever?
Well, yes.
Our only demand is that you remain in the office, or at least in building, during working hours. If you leave, you forfeit your position forever. The will is very clear from that point.
Well, it's only 4 hours a day. I shouldn't think of leaving.
No excuse will avail, neither sickness nor business or anything else. Here you must stay or lose your billet.
I quite understand.
Then, goodbye, Mr. Wilson. And again, let me congratulate you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. The Encyclopedia Britannica.
Ah, you'll do a wonderful job of it, Mr. Wilson. I'm sure you will.
22nd century theme tune was a bop.
The first word was Arkan. At the end of 8 weeks, I'd finished the A's and begun
Hold
the
on,
B's.
we gotta play Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, otherwise my brain will explode. For those who haven't seen it, it's great. We should watch it sometime. Anyways, that was pretty
This, Mr. Ross rewarded me every Saturday with 4 golden sovereigns. Yesterday morning, however, I got a staggering blow indeed.
gorgeous red-headed league. The lyrics are just Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, and Batman's theme song is just fucking Batman over and over again, and that's also great.
Mr. Milford?
Yes, what can I do for you?
What's happened to Mr. Ross?
Mr. who?
Mr. Ross. Duncan Ross. In office number 4. He's gone. What's happened to him?
Just a moment. Let me look him up in my files. Are you a customer of this, Mr. Ross?
I work for him. That is, I did up until this morning.
What did you do?
I copied the encyclopedia.
You copied?
The Encyclopedia Britannica.
Wouldn't it have been cheaper buying another encyclopedia rather than going to all the trouble of copying it?
You don't understand. That's the work the Red-Headed League required me to do.
Look here, my good man. If this is a joke, I fail to see the humor. If it isn't, it's my duty to inform you that office number 4 was rented temporarily to William Morris, an accountant. I never heard of Duncan Ross, nor the Red-Headed League in all my life, and I'm certain they never existed.
I got the home address of William Morris, but when I arrived there, it turned out to be a factory making ladies' unmentionables. No one had ever heard of William Morris or Duncan Ross.
My word, you really were on a wild goose chase, weren't you?
After that, I didn't know quite what to do. The whole experience was so embarrassing, I could hardly make myself tell it to Spaulding.
Then, quite naturally, you thought of me.
Oh, as I said before, I'm not a rich man. If I don't locate the League or find out what happened to them, I stand to lose £4 a week.
You don't stand to lose anything, Mr. Wilson. You can't lose something you didn't possess in the first place. And the story is probably a pack of lies in any case.
Holmes.
And if it isn't, you've no reason to complain. You're £30 richer by
How
your
dare you call this man out for being tricked?
experience, not to mention the invaluable knowledge you've
How do
gained
we
on
like
every subject.
Elementary? I've only actually seen the first episode of Elementary. I've not gotten into it. I want to at some point, but I just haven't had the time. I have so many things I want to watch, and I bounce back and forth between things.
Down to the letter A. If I were you,
I
Mr.
also
Wilson,
don't own that one on Blu-ray or DVD, so it goes lower in my priorities.
I'd be quite grateful and forget about the whole affair. Good day to you, sir.
Well, I hardly expected this kind of treatment.
If you should discover a corpse at your second-hand shop in an old cello case, you're perfectly welcome to return. In the meantime, I have an experiment to conclude.
I'm going to find out if firing a gun in a house is illegal. If it is, you can rely on me to report you.
Ooh.
Holmes, what on earth persuaded you to behave like that?
Yes, it was rather unseemly behavior, wasn't it, Watson? But absolutely necessary, I assure you.
But why?
Well, if I tell him I was willing to take on his case, he'd probably give it away to the wrong party. Why burden him with the necessity of having to keep a secret?
Then you mean you're going to take the case?
I wouldn't miss finding out about the Red-Headed League for all the tea in India.
China, Holmes. Do you think it could be a prank, some sort of wild practical joke on Mr. Wilson?
Well, at £4 a week for 8 weeks, the joke would be on someone else.
It is a considerable sum, isn't it?
The case, as I see it, breaks down into two whys. I think I know the first why, but the second why eludes me.
Well, which is the why you know, and which is the why you don't know?
Well, why was the League formed? Now, that's obvious. To keep Wilson out of the shop a certain number of hours a day. But why is the why that I want to know?
Well, why is the why that you want to... I see. You mean somebody tried to get Wilson out of your shop in order to steal something from him?
No. The case is too elaborate to justify stealing from so small a shop as Wilson's. No, the reason is bigger than that. Bigger than any of us might imagine.
Now, you're not going to start shooting again, Holmes.
No, but I'm going to take this with us.
Us?
Yes, you're interested in the case, aren't you?
I'm a doctor, Holmes.
Well, all the better if someone should get hurt.
This started out to be such a peaceful morning, and an old friend of mine was coming from India, and we were going to spend the day together. And now look what you've talked us into, the Red-Headed League.
Yes, exciting, isn't it?
Seems to be nobody here.
I wonder where it could be.
I'll be right with you, gentlemen.
May I help? I'm sorry, I was occupied in the cellar. I hope I haven't kept you waiting.
Not at all. My friend here is interested in making a purchase.
If you are familiar with mystery series tropes, you can probably already guess the solution to this one. Because it is like a very common mystery trope.
Anything in particular?
Anything in, well, you never know what you might, oh, what's that?
That?
Yeah.
That is a, oh yes, this is fascinating. This is it's the essential part of the structure of a wild boar trap.
No, really?
Yes.
By Jove, a wild boar trap, eh? How very interesting. Now, and a very fine specimen as wild boar traps go.
Yes,
oh,
indeed.
yes, a very fine. Oh, indeed, reminds me of my day. There we were, all lined out in a row, as far as the eye could see.
Yes.
Down the hill came the enemy, and the Battle of Royal Burnett was on.
Yes, if you excuse me.
There we were, outnumbered 112 to 1. That was from the count after the battle, as you understand.
Yes.
Charge, they shouted, as down the hill they came, the hordes of heathen, at 112 to 1. And from that moment I became a collector, and I've been a collector ever since. You understand that, of course?
Oh, yes, but that is a quite perfectly natural reaction.
It's 1 o'clock.
It's 1 o'clock. What?
Yes, 1 o'clock. Our engagement with the Colonel. Do you remember? The one who led you in the charge.
Oh, of course, yes. Well, I hope you'll keep that for me, will you?
Well, there's been a fearful run on wild boar traps lately, but I'll do my best.
Thank you, Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. Well, what did you discover? The knees of Spaulding's trousers show considerable wear. What does that mean? Perhaps a great deal. Let me have your stick for a minute.
What are you doing?
No time to explain now, but a considerable crime is in contemplation. And since today is Saturday, we may have some difficulty in preventing it.
What kind of a crime?
A bank robbery.
What?
Shh. Meet me at the side entrance of the Westminster County Bank at 10 o'clock sharp.
Yes, is that the bank that's going to be...
Yes. At 10 o'clock sharp, remember?
The basement vaults of the Royal Westminster Bank, as you can see, they are impregnable.
Is there a hoard of treasure in this apartment? There's like a bank next door.
To be robbed, Holmes.
Because the knees of a man's trousers were badly worn.
I can't see how they can possibly get in here.
Is that the gold?
Yes. We had occasion some months ago to strengthen our reserves, and so we borrowed 30,000 Napoleons from the Bank of France.
Word must have leaked out, if Mr. Holmes' deductions are correct.
Gentlemen, we must prepare ourselves. As soon as Mr. Wilson goes to sleep, they will make attempts to get in.
Who are they?
Wow, perfect timing.
It's all right. Hey, jump! All right, Spaulding, your bank robbing days are over.
So I see. I fancy my pal got away all right, though.
There are 3 policemen waiting for him at the other end.
Well, you seem to have done things very, very, very neatly. I must compliment you.
But I feel obliged to reciprocate. Your red-headed league was very inventive indeed.
Here. You were the one who came into the shop this afternoon. You came with...
With me?
Ah. I thought there was something very, very queer. You don't look like a collector at all.
They helped to collect you, didn't they? I think you'd better come along with me.
I don't know how the bank can repay you, Mr. Holmes.
I've been more than amply repaid,
Money.
Mr. Merriweather, by having one of the most unique experiences of my career. However, there is one thing you could do for me.
Name it.
Well, it's...
Anything, Mr. Holmes.
I'm a regular depositor at your bank, Mr. Merriweather, and I should be eternally grateful if you could do something about your pens. I've yet to find one of them that worked. Come along, Watson.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it, Phoenix? Thanks, green guy, and just
What
a
I
peach
shall
again
never
for the chair.
understand is how you suddenly knew there would be a bank robbery.
Well, if you remember, when we visited the second-hand shop, Spaulding was in the cellar. I didn't pay much attention to it at the time, but later on I noticed that the knees of his trousers were badly worn, as if he'd spent some time kneeling, doing some sort of burrowing work. But burrowing where? Perhaps from the cellar to the next building. The moment the thought occurred to me, I whisked you outside and surprised you by tapping on the pavement with your stick.
You certainly did. Oh, I'll just go and see who it is. Hello, come on in, Inspector. How are you,
Any
Dr.
opinions on
I hope it's not too late to
List
make a call.
Dupin,
Of
i.e.
course not.
the
Well, I saw the light
post
was on, and I
detective
just thought I'd
precursor to Holmes? I've actually never read that. I know Holmes mentions Dupin as well as a few other like existing fictional detectives in his first story, but I've never read it, so I don't have any.
Hop in.
Ah, how are you, Inspector? Now, make yourself at home.
Oh,
Go on the chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Cup of tea? Yes, please. Well, by the time the newspapers come out with a report of your exploits tomorrow, Holmes, you'll be a hero.
Oh, well, I shall try and remain humble through it all.
Yes, the whole of London. Except, of
they
course,
live together?
Mr.
Yeah.
Wilson.
At 221B.
Unless I miss my guess, he wants me still to arrest you.
Arrest me? What for?
Well, he didn't like the way you treated him last night, you know. And then, of course, he complains that... Oh, no, it's too ridiculous. Still, I think you'd enjoy hearing about it. He claims that you were firing a revolver in this house. You know it's against the law, don't you? But who in their sober senses would do such a thing? Yes, it does sound very implausible, doesn't it? Yes, that's exactly what I told him. I mean, people just don't do things like that, do they?
No.
Of course not. All right, let's see what episode we have next. The neurotic detective. Let's do the Texas Cowgirl. Put on the cushions, and it should be good. There's a footrest too, but I can put that on later.
be down in 2 shakes.
Is this an original story they wrote for this show, or is this an actual Holmes story? I'm not familiar with this one. Because I can't imagine Holmes, or, that, Sir Conan Doyle would have written about Texas... Yeah, okay, original story, cool beans. I'm interested. I always like to see people try to write original Holmes stories in that style. That's always fun.
Visitor, Watson.
What, it is, sir?
Yes. Young lady.
Plus, after a certain point, you've seen the adaptations enough that you tend to know the solution to the, you know, the classic mysteries.
Who arrived in a covered...
With this, I have no idea what happens.
Wagon.
A what?
A covered wagon. Now, what do you find strange about that?
I'm looking, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
You've tracked him down, madam. Won't you come in?
Name's Minnie Mallett, Mr. Holmes. Now, Rhonda.
Oh, she's trying to do a Texas accent, and she's clearly English, and she's doing such a bad job. This poor woman.
Texas. I'm sure glad to know you.
Well,
I'm sure glad to know you.
Pleased to know you. With Bison Jack's radio, I believe.
Say, how'd you figure that out?
Well, how'd you figure
your dress
that
is
out?
Very charming, but scarcely commonplace in London.
Well, didn't have a chance to change to my store clothes. Came straight here from a hotel.
She's trying.
Who's he?
Oh, he? Oh, no, that's Dr. Watson, my esteemed partner.
Howdy, Doc.
How do you do, indeed?
I'm sorry to bother you boys so late, but I got a case for you, Mr. Holmes. You're gonna like this one.
Yes, I'm sure. Won't you sit down?
No time to sit down. Not with that man in my hotel room.
Man in your room?
Well, don't get excited, Doc. It's all right. He's dead.
Oh, well, of course, in that case, What, dead?
With his head diced up a little, and my tomahawk laying next to him.
Oh.
Great Scott.
Tell me, Miss O'Malley, who is this gentleman?
Dunno. Never saw the critter before in my life. Walked into my room after the show tonight, and there he was, stretched out on the floor, dead.
Dillis Filler with 40
And it
bits
was,
says, he who? Oh yes, Watson, my top assistant. He's the best assistant I've had.
Oh, tomahawk.
Sure was. You was in the show, but I left it in my room tonight. Sherlock, you gotta get that hombre's body out of my room.
But, Miss O'Malley, one can't just...
Minnie is the name, Doc.
Well, Doctor, Doc is right, Minnie. It's considered illegal to move a body from the place of crime.
Well, it certainly is in England. Of course, I don't know what they do in Texas.
But it was illegal to tomahawk the critter in my room, too, wasn't it?
Well, I dare say it was, but wouldn't it be simpler to notify the police?
Sherlock, out Texas way we call in the sheriff when we want to make a fuss about something. I don't want to make a fuss about this. Just want to get that body out of my room. Pronto.
What's that really a mystery?
Is that his name?
What language you talking, Doc?
Minnie, why don't you want to make a fuss about it?
Well, I'm aiming to get myself hitched.
Hitched?
Hitched. A hook, lasso, tied down. Wedding, holy matrimony.
Oh.
And what would Freddie and his mother count to say if they found I got a dead man in my room?
Freddie, I presume, is your fiancé.
Yeah, the Earl of Worcester. Met him last week when he got tossed off a bronco. Landed in his lap.
Oh, I don't think I've heard of the title.
Well, Freddie calls it something else too, Doc. But it's spelled W-O-R-C-E-S-T-E-R. Worcester.
Oh, yes, I see, yes. Lord Worcester.
Mm-hmm. His ma'd be fit to be hogtied if I got in any kind of scandal.
Anglo-American relations are involved in this, Watson, to say nothing of chivalry.
Now, look here, Holmes, I know all about Anglo-American relations and chivalry, but just the same,
Doc, maybe you better stay home tonight and leave this to me and Sherlock.
Yes, maybe you'd better. It might turn out to be a rather risky business, Watson.
Well, excuse me, what exactly is this?
It's a lasso, Doc.
Oh. Well,
You throw a half with it.
will you throw a half
He is sandy.
Well, you don't really
She's
throw
just
a half
sandy
of-
cheeks. You're right.
You just lasso him. Like this.
Let me guess, in the end, she's gonna lasso the actual murderer as he tries to get away.
Now, really, what on earth do you think, young woman, you're doing?
And then...
What is that?
you
But
pull.
really,
Okay.
All right, boys. Up you go.
I refuse point
That's
blank
nice.
to travel in that disgusting conveyance.
Oh, don't be so narrow-minded,
That's nice.
Watson. Come on, get in.
I tell you, I refuse point blank.
Well, if that's the way you feel about it, Doc.
You'll regret this.
Take it away, Slim.
The man, after all, he has his principles.
It is comfortable.
Hey, you mustn't do this to me. What do you think you're doing?
Faster, Watson, faster.
What do you think you're doing? I can't put up with this. You'll stagger me, you...
Come on, now, Watson, hurry, hurry. Come on. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, Mother Brown. Knees up, don't get the breeze up. Knees up, Mother Brown. Come on, Watson, come on.
It's so padded.
There he is, boys. Just like I left him. He's dead all right, isn't he, Doc?
He couldn't be deader. Yes. Nasty business, this. Whoever did it wasn't satisfied to hit him just once with that tomahawk. Hit him several times.
Chair is dead. Long live the chair. I'm actually gonna move this chair for now so I can just sit down. I'm fucking tired. How do I do this? Come on. Yeah, we can... That hurt in a way I cannot describe verbally. And I know a lot of words. Okay. All right. Comfy. Ooh. It reclines to your preference. Look at that. Woo. Good stuff. Good stuff. Comfy. That's so much better. Holy crap, you have no idea how much better that is. Woo! Alright, alright, alright. Green Guy says, how's the new chair? It's great. It's so much more comfortable. It's really good. Thank you. Also makes streaming easier. My butt won't hurt as much by the end. Oh, alright. Chair success. Continuing with the stream.
Looks like a vengeance killing.
Sounds like an engine on the warpath.
I take it that this is the weapon you use in your performance, Minnie.
Yeah. Fella stands there with a cigarette in his mouth, and I throw the tomahawk at him, slice off the cigarette.
Bit risky, isn't it?
Not if I don't miss, Doc.
Oh, I see.
When do you estimate the time of death, Doctor?
Within the last 2 hours. It's perfectly straightforward. Penetration of the cerebellum.
New
He was hit
chair
more than
pronouns. Any, all. New chair is based.
once.
Aged about 30, I'd say. Occasionally wore glasses.
Seriously, you have no idea how much more comfortable this chair is. Holy crap. It doesn't take up a bunch of space like behind me. It just kind of disappears.
No means of identification in it.
Good. Old chair was stealing my limelight. My unsuccessful D-list Twitch and YouTuber limelight.
What's this? No doubt about his profession, Watson. Skeleton keys.
By Jove, Holmes, a burglar. Then that means, of course, he was after some jewels, and he must have had a partner, and then he and his partner...
But he ain't got no jewels. Just some old engine
I
beef.
think shower after stream is going to be a good idea. Unfortunately, for some reason, putting a chair together made me sweaty.
Who'd want them?
Now, the problem becomes, where can we put his body?
Now, look here, Holmes, we can't put his body anywhere. That's preposterous.
I've got it. We'll put it in the next room.
Oh, now, look, Holmes, listen, you've got to listen to reason. You can't possibly...
Anglo-American relations, Watson, remember?
Careful, Boston Jack doesn't see you. He's got his room down the hall.
Thank you, my dear.
I want to reiterate how much more comfortable this chair is. It's kind of insane. The other shelf got here, apparently. Sweet. Don't forget your meds. True, remember your meds. I took mine today. Did you take yours?
Relax, Doc. Leave it to Sherlock.
My dear child, Holmes is the last person I'd leave this to. He has no more idea of when to stop than any man I have...
Number 13, across the passage. Most appropriate.
Couldn't think of a better. Come on now. Time's a wasting.
Sherlock Holmes D&D class. That would be fun. I'm sure someone's put that together before.
All right, boys. All clear.
Come along, Holmes. Holmes, what are you doing? Come along. I'm coming.
So, to tell you what I'm going to do with the shelf, by the way, it's going to go here. I'm going to move some stuff around and maybe change camera angles slightly. But this whole, like, area back here is going to be a shelf with Blu-rays, I think. The sign I will probably put in front of one of the shelves or something, because I still like the sign. I don't know.
Mr. Holmes.
Hello, Tommy.
I've got something for you, Mr. Holmes. Something real odd.
Really, Tommy? What is it, eh?
Well, sir, I happened to be passing one of the rooms tonight, and I looked inside.
The door was open?
Not exactly open, sir. In fact, it was closed, if you know what I mean.
We're sending Hannah furniture now. Yes!
Yes, I think I do know what you mean.
Well, if a bloke wants to become a famous detective like you...
Well, really, Tommy, there are more ethical ways of becoming a detective than looking through keyholes, but since you did, what did you see?
Someone's hand.
Boy!
Yes, Mom?
There's a mouse in my room.
I'll get it right out, Mom.
How?
I'm coming right away, Mom.
Madam, might I suggest that you try...
Is the boy a waif? What's a waif?
Mewing.
Mewing?
Yes, madam. Mewing.
He's mogging on the haters.
Disgraceful, if you ask me. I pay 3 shillings for my room, and I must mew like a cat.
Well, now, Tommy, perhaps you'll tell me about that hand that you saw.
Well, sir, all I saw was a hand turning a knob on a bedpost.
Hand turning a knob on a bedpost. That's very interesting. Thank you very much, Tommy. Now run along and catch
and like,
that...
I know I'm just like harping on it too, but the chair is so stable. The other one, if I tipped too far, the bottom part was broken, so I felt like I was gonna fall out of it. So stable.
Thank you, sir. Coming, madam.
Green guy with the dollar tip says, Hannah, your old chair, did you have it from before you lost all that weight? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had that when I was, like, at my heaviest.
I think it's called, sir. A native weapon of the North American Indian.
Used sometimes as a missile and sometimes as a hand weapon. Certain
When I want the history of the tomahawk, Wilkins, I'll consult an encyclopedia. Yes? Oh, come in, Holmes. Dr. Watson?
Hello, Inspector. How are you? Got your note, Lestrade. Anything interesting on hand?
Yes, murder. I thought you'd be interested. It's the kind of case you like.
Really? Why?
Well, the chambermaid found him like this a little while ago.
Ah, well, poor chap.
Yes, he was killed by this tomahawk. It's a native weapon of the North American Indian, sometimes used as a missile, sometimes a hand weapon.
That's most observant of you, Lestrade. Have you identified the victim?
Oh, yes, of course. There's a burglar, the name of Sly Sam Slythe. Room belongs to Mr. Honeywell here. Mr. Honeywell is a salesman. Women's corsets.
Terrible. Terrible. A dead man in my room. I shall lose all my customers.
Yes, that must be very awkward for you. Holmes, don't you think this is a time for the magnifying glass, a little detection?
Well, Watson, I don't really like interfering in the yard's cases. Besides, it seems plain enough without magnification.
Oh, you mean Mr. Honeywell?
What? I don't know anything about it. Inspector, I'm innocent.
So it was all worn out, and your new ass didn't fit the spot your old ass made? You could phrase it like that, I suppose.
Think of my customers.
Take it easy, Mr. Honeywell. No one's accusing you of anything. Now, the way I see it is this, Holmes. Sly Sam sometimes worked with a partner. They were on a job here together tonight. They broke into this room, quarreled over the loot, and Sly Sam tomahawked him.
Who owned the tomahawk?
The tomahawk?
Yes, of course, Lestrade, you know, Sly Sam Sly's partner might have been a Red Indian. Are you coming, Watson? Let me know if you find the owner of the tomahawk, won't you, Lestrade?
It was late in the afternoon, and the grey, depressing London weather did nothing to help clear up my confusion. Holmes kept silent as we walked, and it wasn't until the rain cleared and the gas lamps came on that he started to discuss the case.
Yes, but Holmes, what I don't understand is who put the tomahawk next to the body?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
But Holmes, Minnie's our client.
So she is.
Yes, but we moved the body so she won't be involved, and then you implicate her with the tomahawk.
But the tomahawk is evidence, my dear fellow. Would you have me disturb evidence? That's illegal, you know.
Oh, really? Yes, but... Well, you know, I'm very surprised at you know, because, after all, Minnie is our client. And it's your duty to protect our clients, not to turn...
All right, boys.
Would you be shocked to find you're not the first person to open fire in this house, ma'am? The poor neighbors. The people at 222 B Baker Street must want to die.
Grab air.
Grab air? Well, what's she talking about?
Reach for the ceiling, Doc. You too, Sherlock.
Oh, I believe she means raise your hands.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so?
I'm right disappointed in you, Sherlock. I thought you were a straight shooter. You planted my tomahawk next to that critter's body, so I guess I'll have to shoot you. You got any last wishes, Sherlock?
Well, And now we return to the case of the Texas Cowgirl.
Quite simple, really. The tomahawk I placed by the body was the one I found in the potted plant outside Minnie's room. The murderer undoubtedly hid it there, hoping to recover it later on.
You mean he used 2 tomahawks to kill Slythe?
No, just one. He struck Slythe with Minnie's tomahawk after he'd killed him, thereby giving the impression that Minnie had done it.
Well, someone's trying to frame me.
Obviously.
Well, who is it?
Could it be somebody in the rodeo?
My no good, Doc. If anyone in the rodeo saw, they saw a Bison Jack, not me. No one knows I'm a silent partner.
Green guy with $1.
Oh, one of Inspector Lestrange's emissaries.
Green guy with $1 says, we got our couch at a rehome furniture store and testing out couches. Some were basically brand new on one side and the other side had an ass dent and an elbow dent where someone sat for like 10 years. That's how it be.
I expect. Come in.
That was a fast chair build, and I didn't fuck it up at all. I was shocked. Usually when I do flat-packed furniture, I put something on backwards or something at least once, and I have to unscrew it and redo it. Didn't fuck it up. Yay me.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, Inspector. Inspector Lestrade asked me to give you this message.
Oh, thank you, Wilkins. Aha. Just as I thought.
What is it, Sherlock?
Well, Inspector Lestrade thinks he's found the owner of the other tomahawk, the one that killed Sly.
But whose is it?
He doesn't say.
Well, come on, boys. Whoever the hombre is, he's the one that's trying to frame you.
Where's the inspector, Sergeant? In the room with the body?
No, sir, he's in the room with running water. This one, sir.
Running water? But they've all got running water.
It means Chief running water, Doc. The engine in the rodeo.
Oh.
Oh no, this is gonna be someone in brown face, isn't it? This is gonna be someone in brown face. This is gonna be an Englishman in brown face. Oh, fuck. Oh, no! It's Chief Motto!
Took your advice, Mr. Holmes. I found an Indian.
Not a fan of that.
Chief running water here. Indians in London, honestly.
Howdy, Chief.
Oh.
He looks like Chief Running Zach from Saved by the Bell.
How do you do? Oh, Lestrade, has our friend admitted owning the tomahawk?
Well, I don't know. He keeps saying the same thing every time. You watch. Now, I'll ask you once again. Is this your tomahawk? Huh? You see?
He doesn't savvy English, Sheriff.
Oh, I don't think I've had the honor.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Inspector Lestrade, this is Miss Minnie O'Malley from Bison Jack's rodeo.
Oh, then, miss, perhaps you can help me to make this gentleman understand what I'm trying to ask him.
Sorry, Sheriff. He's a Blackfoot. All I speak is Apache.
Tomahawk. You catch 'em quick, kill.
Oh my God.
White Chief?
Winahana.
Please make this scene end. Fuck. Sherlock Holmes in the case of the racist caricature. Oh.
What do you want to do that for?
I reckon he thinks you're asking him to scalp you, Sheriff.
Holmes, this is impossible. When it gets to the point where I have to learn Blackfoot to talk to a murder suspect, well, really. Well, what's he say?
I believe, sir, he says the tomahawk belongs to Big Chief Bison Jack.
Wait, this guy's... Okay, sure, whatever.
When I want suggestions from you, Wilkins, I'll ask for it. What?
He says that he saw Mr. Bison Jack tonight in the corridor outside room number 13, the room where the body of the deceased was found. He also suggests that perhaps we might...
Bison Jack? Why, sure enough, this is his tomahawk.
Then it's not his?
Sherlock, the varmint tomahawk sliced in my room, and then he went over...
In your room, Miss O'Malley?
A slip of the tongue, Straight. A slip of the tongue.
That's right, Sheriff. Slip of the tongue. Make 'em all the time.
Because that wouldn't make any sense either. Wilkins.
Oh, sorry, I missed a tip real quick. Green guy with a $1 tip says, we paid $130 for a 9-foot puffy couch, had to rent a van to move it. I like it because we have pets and the dog could eat the couch, and the only thing I would be worried about is how to clean up a 9-foot couch turd.
Find this Bison Jack person, or whatever they call him, and bring him to room 13.
Yes.
So, did he, like, bring that painting with him and hung it up on the wall of the hotel? That's weird. Oh, God, it's so bad. Please don't stop. Just... Oh, no.
This ain't my tomahawk, Sheriff.
The same
Never seen it before.
Was in Millie's room? Oh, okay. It's just like a theme hotel?
Anyhow, tomahawks all look the same to me.
It's the tomahawk you loaned me for my act tonight. Left mine in my room.
You didn't give us your tomahawk back to me, Minnie.
I certainly did, right after the act.
I don't rightly recollect your giving it back.
Chief Running Water... Oh, name. Chief Running Water said he saw you outside the door of this room tonight, Mr. Jack.
Yeah, wanted to talk over the act with Minnie.
Did Miss O'Malley answer the door?
No. I went straight back to my room. Did you get back here tonight before or after Minnie? I reckon it's before. Leastwise, Minnie wasn't in a room when I knocked. Tell me, Lestrade, did any of the guests report missing...
Watson trying to understand the lasso in the background is good business. That's funny.
Tell me, Lestrade, did any of the guests report missing jewelry tonight?
No, why?
Well, they will soon.
But
you gave the solution yourself, Lestrade. The murderer was Sam Sly's partner. Weren't you, Mr. Honeywell?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You stole Bison Jack's tomahawk to kill your own partner here in this room. Then you planned to move his body back into Bison Jack's room.
This is ridiculous.
That's my least favorite motive for murder stories, by the way, is business partner kills other business partner for bigger share of business. I get it. I get why it's a go-to. It's just boring.
If that's what I planned, why didn't I put the body into...
I think the one that I actually like that's that premise is Murder by the Book, which is the first Columbo story after Columbo got picked up as a series.
Bison Jack's room. Because Bison Jack had already returned to his room from the rodeo.
In that case, I still wouldn't have left the body in my room. I could have put it in another room.
Come, Mr. Honeywell, don't let's get academic. Who placed the jewels in the bedpost?
Yes. Who did place the jewels in the bedpost?
Well,
Would your employment with a corset firm stand investigation, Mr. Honeywell?
Yep, runs away lasso. Someone's gonna lasso him. Is Watson gonna lasso him? Is that gonna be the thing? Yep, Watson's gonna lasso him. Oh, come on! How was... He was 3 feet away from him, but he has been running for like 5 seconds. He was just standing there. Let's go through this real quick. Okay. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't matter. But here he is running at a pretty steady pace. Okay, he's going. He's running. Watson's coming. Okay, he should still be running. Think about it. He should still be running. Yet, Watson stands here for seconds. We can assume this shot is just the previous few seconds from their perspective. That's fine. But here he is still swinging it. He should have had plenty of time to keep running as Watson is swinging over his head. But look it. Boom, he was right there. What was he doing the whole time? It would be unfair if he kept running while Watson was getting the lasso ready. So it's only fair to pause and stand there while Watson gets ready to lasso you. If that makes sense.
Yippee! That's the way, Doc.
Well, Dr. Watson.
Nice rope on there, partner.
He's all yours, Inspector. Middle of this. There we are. Holmes.
Ah, thank you, Watson. Brad?
See, you can really twirl that rope, Doc.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think there's much to it once you get the hang of it, you know.
Say, Sherlock, how'd you know that Honeywell dragged the body from his room to my room?
Well, the tracks in the corridor. 2 heel marks in the carpet. Quite obvious.
Golly, you could be an engine scout.
Minnie, may I ask you something?
Sure can.
Would you really have shot me?
Well, I reckon not. Maybe just wounded you a little. Yes, do you, boy?
Yes, do you, Minnie?
That's a strange one. I don't know about that one, man. Let's see what else we got. Belligerent Ghost, Shy Ballerina, The Winthrop Legend, Blind Man's Bluff, The Mother Hubbard Case, The Shoeless Engineer, The Split Ticket, The French Interpreters. Do The Laughing Mummy. I am going to run and use the bathroom real quick, so while I'm gone, I guess new chair will introduce themselves. I will return. Be right back. Did Hannah transfer the old chair's Katra to new chair, or is this more of a Trill situation? I'd say it's more of a Trill situation, and the Trill is my ass. Sorry, the chair's in the way, so I had to squeeze in through the door, and I, like, hurt myself. I crushed myself in between the door and the door frame on my, frankly, on my tit. Directly on my tit, and it hurts a lot. I really shouldn't have done that shit. I might bruise. Ah! Am I okay? I'm okay. I'm a little sore in the chest area, but I'm alright.
Sir, can I carry a bag? No, thank you. Sorry. So sorry. Excuse me. What, sir? What, sir? Sorry. Watson, hurry up. Come on, the train's going. Yes, here. Excuse me.
Can I give a link for the series? Sure. 1 second. Let me get that for you. Here you go. The whole thing's on YouTube. Oh, shit. Sorry. It restarted. Why? There we go.
Well, that certainly...
Do I prefer to watch Sherlock Holmes or Columbo? I like Columbo better as a character, but I really like Sherlock Holmes. There's certainly more Sherlock Holmes than there is Columbo, even though there's a lot of Columbo. Dillis Filler with a 40-bit link. It's about this long, this thick. Yeah, Star Trek minus context. Did a lot of Valentine's Day sexual innuendo posting yesterday.
Sir, can I carry a bag? No, thank you. Sorry. So sorry. Excuse me.
By the way, if you like the stream, if you're on YouTube, do me a favor, give a thumbs up. It helps a lot. If you're on Twitch, maybe give a follow. If you want to help support the show, you can gift subs, subscribe yourself, or use bits.
What?
There's my plug. I did it.
What, sir? Sorry. Watson, hurry up. Come on, the train's going. Yes, here. Excuse me. Was it a close call, Holmes?
It certainly was. If you hadn't lingered to pass the time of day with that barmaid, we'd have had ample time.
How did you know that I...
Your elbow, it's wet. Well, you've obviously been leaning on a bar somewhere. And if I know you, it wasn't a bar man. Was she pretty?
Yes, he was a lovely young lady, as a matter of fact. Came from Lancashire. Hasn't been in London very long. Blinko Watson. Sardines Dalton. Oh, I say, what a small world it is. Oh, good old Blink.
I'm gonna say he did it. I don't think you introduce a friend or former, like, associate of one of the mystery solvers in any detective story and don't have them be the person, unless it's a red herring. But I'm gonna say it's probably this guy. This feels like Scooby-Doo level storytelling, like, here's the one guy we're gonna introduce who did it.
Go. Best smile of the school ever had. I say, oh man, you're putting it on a bit here and there, aren't you? Oh, particularly there. Oh, well, you know. Say, Holmes, do you know sardines?
No, how do you do? Sardines?
Did you say Holmes? Not Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I see you've been reading about him in the papers, what? Oh, can't read anything else these days except about that last case of yours, Mr. Holmes.
It seems like in this show, by the way, they don't have Watson writing the stories? That's interesting. Most versions of Sherlock Holmes I've read, or seen, rather, like, acknowledge that he is also writing what are effectively the Sherlock Holmes stories in universe. But, like, they're not acknowledging that here. It doesn't seem like he's doing that.
Yes, well, that presented a bit of a problem at first, but we managed to nail it before the finishing line, didn't we, Holmes?
Oh, we did, Blinko.
You know, I wouldn't be at all surprised if you were going fishing.
Yes, we're going to Witchenham, no?
Why, of course. I'm living at our old family place, Forthingham. That's near Witchenham. Oh, I say.
Something wrong, man?
No.
Salted Undying says, if you've been enjoying mystery solving, I highly recommend A Nero Wolfe Mystery, but I warn you the episodes are good, but the cast, rotate roles like a theater troupe. That's strange. Interesting.
No, nothing really. I don't want to bother Mr. Holmes with my troubles.
What sort of trouble, Mr. Taunton?
Well, yes, it's my mummy.
Oh, Lady Taunton.
No, my Egyptian mummy.
Is your father married again?
Oh, no, don't be silly, Blinko. One of those Egyptian fellows who were mummified thousands of years ago. That sort of mummy.
Oh, you have that sort of a mummy?
Yes. My Uncle Joseph sent it to me from Egypt. He's an archaeologist, you know.
Well, it seems an odd thing to have sent you.
Last year he sent me a crate of sand.
Sand?
Yes, from Sahara. The desert, you know.
Just sand?
Yes, that's all. Just sand. Arrived one morning like the mummy case.
Mummy case?
Yes, a chap called Amenhotep.
No.
Amenhotep. Priest of the 14th dynasty or something. Anyway, that's what Professor Van Tolkien said.
Professor Von Tolkien?
Yes, he's a colleague of my uncle's. Lives quite nearby.
I'm assuming the sand isn't really sand or something.
Couldn't fathom what was wrong with the mummy either.
Or it's got something hidden in it.
Precisely what is wrong with your mummy, Mr. Taunton?
It laughs.
I beg your pardon?
It laughs.
Laughs?
Quite.
How does it laugh?
Well, now, we go something like this. No, not really like that. It's much eerier than that. More like this.
The main cast never changes, but the other characters. Here's the playlist.
When does it laugh?
Ooh, practically any time.
Well, have you seen it laugh?
There it is.
Me? Oh, good heavens, no.
Why don't you give it away?
Leaving.
I can't. Nobody wants it. I say, Blinko.
No, I'm awfully sorry. Oh, no, we couldn't. Well, look, why don't you burn it or chuck it in the river or something? Hmm?
Oh, well, now, I know this sounds silly, but there's an inscription on it. Something like, who destroys my sleep, destroys himself. Professor Van Tolkien's translated it for me.
Yeah, but you don't believe all that rubbish, do you? I mean, Egyptian capers and all that.
Well, no, I don't actually believe the curse, Blinker, but I've got to do something. Well, I'm engaged to Rowena Featherstone. No?
No.
Oh, she's a lovely girl. She's got an aunt, regular old battle-axe. Well, she keeps after Rowena to break off the engagement. There's a chap who keeps an Egyptian mummy who laughs. We can't be very reliable.
Yeah, well...
Swan Croak says, British, quote, archaeologists dug up so many mummies and sold them as collectibles that they literally became so unappreciated that people would chop up excess bodies and use them as firewood. Yeah, I've also heard of mummies being used as fuel for trains, which is pretty yikes.
I understand that.
Oh, I say. Would you like to come over to my place and see if you can stop him laughing?
Oh, now, look, old boy, we were going fishing, you know, and...
Oh, it might prove interesting, Watson. A mummy that laughs.
And paint, yeah, Mummy Brown was the name of a specific shade of historical paint because they literally had, like, bits of ground-up mummy as the base for the brown.
This is, Amenhotep.
Well, he doesn't look as if he had much to laugh about.
You wouldn't think so, would you? You wait till you hear him, Blinko. Frightening. Positively frightening.
14th dynasty, I see. It's an exceptionally fine sarcophagus. I must say the funerary carvings of the 14th dynasty were the most beautiful ever known. Ah, yes. Amenhotep was a priest-warrior. And here's the curse.
Yes. Who destroys my sleep, destroys himself. Makes you think, what? Ow. This thing's full of splinters. I'm always picking myself on it.
When did the mummy start laughing, Reggie? As soon as you received it 6 months ago?
No, rather not.
First he was very well behaved. Quiet as a lamb, then he started in about a month ago.
I see. I take it these are the other Egyptian trophies your uncle sent you.
Yes, rather. I stick them all in this room here. I call it my Egyptian room. You know, I wouldn't
Very
like
original.
to come back and think
Call
I
it your
didn't
stolen shit room.
appreciate the gifts he sent me. Pretty touchy about the things they dig up, these archaeological fellas.
Yes, quite naturally. Has your uncle been in England recently?
Oh, no, not since he went galloping off east as a young man. Must be at least 40 years, I think.
Then you've never seen him?
Oh, no. Oh, I say, that's the Sahara sand I was telling you about.
Oh, yes. Does your uncle never write to you?
No, never. Just sends back the things he digs up.
Have you got a photo of him by any chance?
Yes, this one. It was taken when he was up at Oxford. I think he must have changed by now, you know, 40 years. Ravages of time and all that.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Reggie. I didn't know you had visitors.
Oh, no, don't go, Rowena. I want you to meet my guests. This is Binko, Dr. Watson, and Mr. Holmes, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. This is my fiancée, Miss Featherington.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the detective?
Yes.
Yes, he's come to look into this mummy business for us.
Have you found anything, Mr. Holmes? Why does it laugh?
Well, perhaps he tickled himself to death.
I keep pleading with Reggie to get rid of it, destroy it, anything. But he's afraid of the curse.
Well, I'm the one the curse is going to work on, and you know what they are.
Really, Reggie, this is the 19th century. And Aunt Agatha wants to know when we're going to eat. She's famished.
Woman's always famished.
Please, Reggie, she is my aunt.
Well, I suppose I shall have to cook dinner myself. Cook left last night, 4th of the month. Say, Binko, you cook? Well, I...
Reggie, you didn't invite Dr. Watson here to cook. I'll cook.
Well, maybe I better do it myself after all.
We'll both cook. Come on. How many of us are there? 5?
No.
What would make for an acceptable crossover with Holmes that hasn't been done before? I don't think they've ever done an official Hercule Poirot. I mean, I guess official at this point. Like Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain, so what does official even mean? Something with like Hercule Poirot and Holmes would be fun, I think. They're very different detective styles working off against each other. I'm sure there's fanfic of that, but I've not read it. There've been plenty of Holmes v. like Jack the Ripper stuff. That's kind of played out. There've been some Holmes Lovecraft stuff that's kind of interesting. Miss Marple, that might be good. Yeah.
6. I've asked Professor
Holmes v. Lupin. I'm actually not very familiar with Lupin. I know he's like a gentleman thief, but I don't know beyond that.
Von Tolkien to dine. I say if you'd like a glass of sherry or a brandy or soda or something, you'll find it all in the cupboard
Sherlock
over there.
Holmes has already met Batman. He's already met the Mystery Inc. gang. Sorry, H-Baird. H-Baird says the curse is an old slang term for menstruation. Remembering that makes this conversation a lot funnier.
Charming go. I say, Holmes, let's finish up this matter in short order, eh? I hear the fish roundabout here actually snapping.
I wonder.
Yeah,
You wonder
Lupin
what?
has
You
an
find-
anime in Japan. It's like Lupin the Third or something.
Something, Holmes?
I've not actually seen any or read any Father Brown. I know about him, but I'm not familiar.
I wonder if Miss Featherington can cook.
A doctor, young man, you say? A veterinary, no doubt.
Madam, I'm a graduate of the Royal College of Physicians. I specialize in human beings.
And you detect, young man, I understand.
Yes, madam. I detect.
Sherlock Holmes meets Jessica Fletcher. We know Sherlock Holmes, the fictional character, exists in that universe because the first episode is called The Murder of Sherlock Holmes, in which I believe someone dressed as Sherlock Holmes for a costume party gets murdered.
Detect.
Work with the police?
Well, on occasion.
No wonder the crime rate's going up.
So, like, he's fictional in the Murder, She Wrote universe.
Rowena, do we or do we not eat?
Sit down, Miss Auntie. We're bringing the food in.
Reggie tells me you've recently come back from Egypt, Professor.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Just a few months ago. I have retired from active participation in Egyptology.
I see. I understand that you met Reggie's uncle while you were out there.
Yes, Professor Taunton and I excavated for a long time together in the valley of the Lower Nile.
Is Professor Taunton still active?
Yes, Joseph is engaged in important excavation at the present time.
You must be very glad to see all your old friends and relations again, Professor, after all these years.
I've been gone so long, Doctor. I no longer have friends. And I'm afraid even my family wouldn't recognize me.
Well, here we are at last. Better late than never, I always say. Oh, please do help yourselves, everybody. Informality's the form.
Local trout. We used an old recipe we found in a cookery book in the kitchen. Didn't we, Reggie?
Yes, at least I think it was.
Sorry, I'm having trouble getting the
I read
back off
something
this
about
sticker.
mixing nitrogen with hydrogen or something other at the end of it.
Oh, Lord. Well, this is splendid. I haven't had a decent, well-cooked fish like this in years.
Rubber. Sheer, unchewable rubber.
I think it's very edible.
Very
what do you
edible.
think, Holmes?
Quite. Who knows? A sauce might have improved it somehow.
It's quite delicious, Miss Featheringstone.
I believe you're accustomed to eating beetles and locusts, which I'm told are considered delicacies in your...
Oh.
Reggie, take the other end, would you? Carefully, please. Carefully.
This time we heard it ourselves.
Yes, Watson. This time we heard it ourselves.
Oh, that might be a shot of an actual mummy. Jesus.
And now we return to the case of the laughing mummy. Of all the silly things I've been inveigled into by you, this is the silliest. What do you expect to find up here?
Something I discovered earlier this evening, Blinker.
Do not address me by that ridiculous name. Ah!
All right. All right, old chap.
I'm all right now. But if I kill myself, I shall hold you personally responsible.
Good. No, we managed it somehow. Though I had my doubts on several occasions. Now, we'll soon know now.
Know what?
Unless I'm mistaken, this is our laughing mummy.
But this is only a weather vane, Holmes.
Ah, yes, but one that laughs. Listen.
Good.
That's a laugh? I didn't think it sounded like a laugh in the first place.
It would appear.
Right, H. Baird?
Especially with a mummy
It's
in the house.
theremin.
When the wind is in a certain direction, the weather vane acts as a whistle, and the resultant sound is funneled down into the Egyptian room below.
But that's marvelous, Holmes. How did you stumble onto it?
Well, in dealing with the occult, Watson, it's best to remember the natural phenomena come first. Here, give me a hand with this, would you?
Why won't the back come off the sticker? It's driving me insane.
That's wonderful.
Now, be careful you come down, Holmes.
Yes.
Let's be careful.
Here, Watson, would you hang on to this, please? Watson, are you taking it? Where's it gone? Watson. Watson. Watson.
Do you think they know what they're doing, Reggie, dashing out of the house like this?
Maybe not Blinko.
Well, Mr. Holmes seems very capable.
Oh, yes. He's the reliable type. Doesn't say much, but when he does, it's to the point. Like me.
Tell me, Professor, is this the first mummy you've ever heard of that laughs?
Hey,
the very
got
first, Miss Featheringstone, and I'm quite sure that...
No sticker can defeat me, you fucks.
I slid off the roof. Landed in the rhododendron.
Not my rhododendrons, Blinko. I've entered them in the local flower show.
You may now withdraw your entry.
Reggie, how long has this weather vane been on the chimney?
Oh, about a month.
I see. And it was about a month ago that the mummy started laughing.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Holmes.
It will now stop laughing. It was caused by the wind striking the weather vane, which then blew down the chimney and caused a sound which resembled a laugh.
Well. Good heavens above.
Watson now has PTSD. In fairness, he's a wounded combat veteran. I think he already had a fair start.
Mr. Holmes, how terribly clever of you. You found it out all by yourself?
I, too, was on the roof, Miss Featheringstone.
Oh, I know. I think you're both terribly clever.
My compliments, Mr. Holmes. The simplicity of the explanation escaped us all, though I knew, of course, there was an explanation.
Well, now we can all go and finish dinner. We've got something else coming, I think. Lamb, isn't it, Rowena?
I think so. Meat of some kind.
Good.
Oh, Reggie.
Yes, Mr. Holmes?
Who stuck this on the chimney?
Well, I did. It was lying about the place, so I stuck it up there to keep it out of the way.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
You know, I believe I'll miss him laughing. Made him human somehow. Almost chummy. Chummy mummy.
Oh, well, that's another mystery we've solved, eh, Holmes?
Yes, Watson. But in solving it, we've been confronted by a far deeper mystery.
And? What do you mean?
You may observe the sarcophagus is of the 14th dynasty, but the mummy itself is of a much later period.
Well, perhaps they had an old box lying about when the chap died.
Yes, possibly. But it would have to be lying about for a very long time.
Morning, everybody. Isn't it a lovely morning? Simply gorgeous.
Good morning, Miss Featheringstone. Yes, it is indeed a lovely...
You look very refreshing, Miss Featheringstone.
Why does Holmes know so much useless information about ancient Egypt? I wouldn't call it useless, but to him it would be useless if it was in character, which is interesting. It's kind of counter to the whole thing that's he famously said about, like, the Copernican model of the solar system. But I don't know.
Refreshing.
And I am. No mummy laughing any longer, thanks to you, Mr. Holmes.
Well, I say, what early birds we all are. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
God's in his heaven and all's right with the world and all that sort of thing, you know what?
So nice it goes all the way down.
Invoking the name of the deity.
I wasn't. I was quoting a bit of poetry or something. Shakespeare, I think it is.
Tennyson, darling.
Oh, really? Oh,
actually, Miss Featheringstone, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a quotation from Robert Browning. Ben Ezra.
Pippa passes, Watson.
Oh, yes, of course. Pippa passes. I knew it was something like that.
Good morning. Oh, good morning, Professor. Morning. Have a cup of tea or a baked egg or kipper or something here, what?
No, thank you. I just wanted to return this book.
Oh, I say it's awful decent of you, thank you.
Oh, Professor Von Torkins.
Yes, Mr. Holmes?
Reggie has a 14th dynasty vase in the Egyptian room, which rather puzzles me. I wonder if I could impose upon you to clarify a point for me?
It would be my pleasure, Mr. Holmes. Should we see it now?
If it wouldn't be too much trouble, Professor.
Not at all.
Thank you. Yes, the composition of the pottery struck me as being rather later than the 14th dynasty, Professor. This is the vase I referred to.
Considerably later, Mr. Holmes. The 18th dynasty, in fact.
I rather thought Reggie was mistaken, as he was also mistaken about the mummy.
The mummy? I'm afraid I don't understand.
Don't you? I believe it was you who told Reggie that Amenhotep was of the 14th dynasty.
It was, Mr. Holmes.
But of course, this mummy, like the vase, is of a considerably later period.
Really? How much later would you estimate, Mr. Holmes?
Well, I'd say, 4,000 years later.
Okay, so someone killed someone and turned them into a mummy in order to hide the body in plain sight. That's kind of an interesting solution to a murder mystery, or a mystery in general.
How did you determine that, Mr. Holmes?
Well, the sarcophagus is obviously authentic. But the burial wrappings of the mummy itself are of a comparatively modern Egyptian weave. Expertly aged, I admit.
I'd hoped the discrepancy wouldn't be noticed.
Well, if it hadn't been for the coincidence of the weather vane, I should never have bothered to look at the mummy so closely.
What do you propose to do, Mr. Holmes?
I'm afraid, Professor, I have no alternative.
Holmes, what are you talking about?
Professor von Tolkien is, I regret to say, Watson, involved with murder.
Murder? Well, who was murdered?
Joseph Taunton, Reggie's Uncle Joseph.
But how do you know? Where's the body?
You are gazing, Watson, at the mummified remains.
Oh, no, really. You're right, Mr. Holmes. This is Joseph Taunton.
It's always funny in murder mysteries when someone gets called out for murder and they're immediately like, yep, I did it. Let me admit it. Here's exactly how I did it. I don't know if you know this. People do not generally work like that when they are accused of murders. Even when they actually did the murders, they don't usually just admit it, generally speaking. Toreador says the new chair has Sherlock Holmes-themed instructions. A study in Scandinavian where you read the IKEA directions. 2, the seat of 4 where Hannah puts together the 4 parts after the initial assembly. The chair of the Baskin vids where Hannah breaks into the chair by watching more public domain. Q, the Valley of Rear wherein Hannah admires the beginnings of the new depression in the chair. Wow. You put some thought into those.
And if I killed him... What do you mean, if you killed him?
Columbo stories usually end up with the killer admitting it. At least usually in those cases, either Columbo has tricked them into doing so by making it appear that he has airtight evidence, or he actually does find airtight evidence, which basically puts them in a corner, right? But yeah, it's a trope of mysteries. I get it. It's more satisfying. If at the end they're like, here's how you did it, and they're like, no, and they just kept denying it, that's not satisfying. I understand.
Don't know. That sounds strange, doesn't it? Joseph Taunton and I...
Morbid fact, there are forgeries of mummies using human trafficking victims. That's the opposite of a fun fact. I'm sad now.
We are friends. We devoted our lives to excavating the glories of Egypt. And last year we discovered the tomb of Amenhotep. An untouched tomb, Mr. Holmes. Over 4,000 years. Joseph and I, we are the first human beings to set foot in it since the day it was sealed. Can you imagine what that meant to us?
Yes, I can understand that.
Joseph was beside himself. He wanted to open the mummy case immediately, but it was wrong, Mr. Holmes. The case had to be opened carefully, delicately. We quarreled. I tried to restrain Joseph physically, but he broke loose from me. He ran to the case and opened it, and then...
And then, Professor?
And then he staggered and dropped dead.
As he opened the sarcophagus?
Yes. There were no witnesses to what had happened, Mr. Holmes. But in our struggle, Joseph had suffered bruises. I knew what the police would believe.
And so you removed the mummy of Amenhotep and substituted the body of Joseph Taunton instead?
It was the only way I could get the body out of the tomb. Mr. Holmes, I didn't mean to kill Joseph. It was his heart. He always had a weak heart.
You say he staggered, Professor. What did he do as he staggered?
He grasped his throat as if he were...
Toreador says, I did it. I put Mio in my cup but forgot to go fill it. I pick it up a few minutes later and shake it to see if there's anything left. It's just a few drops, I say to myself, and I take a swig of uncut hyper-sweet Mio. Oh.
You're choking.
Watson, would you oblige me by removing the cover of the sarcophagus?
Yes, of course.
Ouch! That splinter. Yes, Watson, ouch. As Reggie said, and as undoubtedly Uncle Joseph said, too. Professor, would you care to take a closer look at what Reggie called a splinter?
Oh, there's poison or something. It's booby-trapped with poison, and it killed the other guy.
What? It's a hollow needle that would pierce the skin of anyone who touched it.
But I don't understand.
The curse of Amenhotep, and a hollow needle that contained the venom of an asp. The same snake poison that killed Cleopatra, and that killed your friend, Joseph Taunton.
The asp poison stayed in good shape for 4,000 years? Wow.
The most
I wasn't the only one who thought it.
symptom of asp poisoning is suffocation. The victim instinctively clutches his throat.
But then, it wasn't our fight.
No. And traces of the poison may still be found in the body, even after mummification.
I say, Holmes, you don't think there's any of that poison left in the needle, do you? Because, well, if so...
The next few minutes will determine that, Watson.
He's so excited to see! Look at his face!
Well, if so...
Look at how excited Sherlock is! That reminds me, in the first story of Sherlock Holmes, when Watson is having Holmes described to him as, like, oddly scientific, the guy who introduces them basically says he's the kind of guy that would poison a friend just to see how it, what the effect is. And here we are!
The next few minutes will determine that, Watson.
What?
Well, how's old Amenhotep doing? I bet he's feeling down in the mouth now he's stopped laughing.
You'll be glad to learn, Reggie, that the professor has offered to take the mummy off your hands.
Oh, I say, that's awfully decent of you, Professor. What you going to do with him?
But he's also considered giving it a fitting burial.
Oh, of course. Now, why didn't I think of that? Do you realize what this means, Rowena? Now we can be married. That old... I mean, your aunt, well, she won't have a leg to stand on.
But, darling, Aunt Agatha really likes you. She just pretends to think you're not very bright.
Really? She likes me?
I think so.
Oh, well then. Let's go and tell her the good news.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Not at all, Professor.
Holmes! Holmes!
What? What's the matter? Why? You look ill.
It's the poison. I can't get my breath.
No, relax, Watson, relax. If there'd been any poison left in that needle, Reggie would long since have joined his ancestors. Unfortunately, the curse only worked once.
Oh. Ridiculous. That's all right. Oh, but Holmes. Oh, that's all very well, but I still can't get my breath.
Not again. It's probably the food we've been subjected to. Yes, I myself would prefer some of that fish that you insist on pursuing up and down the waterways of England with such wild abandon.
Yes, of course. Curse. Utter nonsense.
Honestly, you know, other than the really problematic old-timey elements, I've enjoyed this series so far. Like, it's not the best written Sherlock, it's not the best performances of Sherlock or Watson, but, like, it's alright. It's certainly watchable for a show from 1954, you know? Anyway. Alright, I think that's it for the day. We've almost gone 3 hours, and I need to shower. So yeah. It is free. It's free on Tubi and on YouTube if you want to find it. I think I still have the link queued up here. Here's the link to the rest of the series if you want to check it out yourself. I think it's also available on DVD through a few people who put out like public domain stuff. So cool beans. All right, have a good night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but we'll be doing it with the new chair, so that's fun. Love you too, Mr. Blast. Yeah, and I have D&D later, so that'll be cool. Alrighty, let's see who we're gonna raid on Twitch. Does anyone have anyone they want me to raid? I don't know if there's anyone in particular. Let's see who's on just chatting. Nope. Alright. Who's this? That person looks kind of familiar. Okay, I'm just gonna end. No, this person's good? Okay. Then we'll raid this person. Alright. Have a good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. And, I hope you also get comfortable chairs. Alright, adios. Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow. Or whenever I see you.